War.
Well, train's on time.
Oh my God! What the hell's going wrong? Fucking. Hi everybody. Did you miss us? I'm really sorry. It took us a few minutes to work out all of these various technical gobbledy-bumps and boobily clanks and everything that went wrong. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So we had a problem with my OBS. It was not recognizing any of the Skype streams that we use, that we always use. And my wife's laptop has been like not suddenly connecting for Skype. She probably had to reset something and it didn't reset. And so after 20 some odd minutes, something that normally takes me 13 seconds to power up, just decided to fail today. So for everybody who joined late, hi, you didn't miss anything tonight. So as you can plainly see, I have in front of me Flesh Priest and Nicki. Nicki, say hello to everybody. Flesh, introduce everybody.
Everyone.
Okay.
It's all my fault, by the way.
It's her fault.
You and that Loki working.
Yeah, I started working with Loki yesterday, and it's a good thing. He's about chaos and communication and that trickster type of vibe. So for some reason, it was supposed to happen this way, so it's all good.
We definitely got the trickster aspect at the beginning here.
The trickster
the
ass.
Communication
forget aspect, ass. Just the trickster ass showed itself.
But it's working now, and now we can venture forth into great black magic discussion.
Yes, into the discussion of black magic. We were going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but like I'm so technical brained right now, I think I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to let you guys introduce the subject to start with, and then we can talk about whatever. But right now I'm just like, fuck this computer, fuck streaming, fuck Thursdays.
We have a subject. I thought it was the weekly plan of fly by the seat of our pants, and I'm gonna try not to get into any musical arguments.
Oh yeah, don't bring any music, especially with us, you know, because you said that, you know, music gets you pumped up, and it's the same with me. When I talk music with people just on my own, I'll just want to start fighting for some reason. Because most people like shitty music, but you actually like good stuff, so.
I like to think so, thank you. So actually, while DH is unmicrowaving his brain after all that,
hopefully the audio's okay. I don't have my sound check girls in another room. She just got back. So hopefully our audio's okay, but it looks like it should be. If everybody, can you guys hear everybody? Let me just make sure. Can everybody in the chat? It'll take about 30 seconds, so we'll let them talk. Hopefully you can hear them, and let me know.
So while we're waiting on that, I actually have a question for you, Nicki. I do think magic is in all sources of creativity, and especially music. But out of curiosity, are there any bands or albums or anything where you could just really, like, you think there's some esoteric stuff going on, like you can really, there's a sense of magic in the music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Beatles, I just had to bring them up. They're really good. They have a lot of esoteric themes in their songs, and a lot of the songs too that aren't so popular, you know, that are overplayed on the radio. Led Zeppelin, if you're talking about old school stuff. I'm a big fan of punk, so G.G. Allen. I mean, I've learned much from G.G. Allen. He's one of my favorites, and so him, and I love the Germs. There's this underground band called Catholic Discipline that a lot of people probably don't know about. They only did one album, but their album's called Underground Babylon. So yeah, I find that very common. You know, I've done music projects, and then I've had a ton of friends. I was a little scenester back in the day, but my like when I was in high school, it was the hardcore. So that's why I have a hardcore tattoo above my stomach. And we were into the hard, you know, so all my friends were into the hardcore dancing and all that. So that's the, you know, and then I started learning about, other time periods of rock and roll and punk and all that, but I've just noticed a theme of either a lot of my friends who had music or created music, they were either heavily influenced by the esoteric knowledge, or they played that off. It was almost like a trend because, okay, so like they give me their merch and I'm like, oh, so you know that demon? And they're like, no, I don't work with them. So sometimes
it's just groovy, man.
Yeah, they just use it to make their merch look edgier, which is funny. But I feel like it's very prevalent throughout music, and it definitely changes the vibe of things, because you can have ritual music, you can have music to pump up your warrior mode, or get in the mood. So.
Oh hell yeah! And I think you could really. I think it can come across sometimes when a band is really doing it for another purpose. Like DH, you sent me that band a while back, Sleep Token, I think was their name. That was either the song or the band, where it's like, okay, there's something going on here. I like this.
No, I don't think I ever did. I don't recognize that name. It must have been.
You totally did. It was it was metal, but it was like a down tempo type metal.
I mean,
I'll
that sounds like metal. It sounds like metal I would listen to, but I don't recognize the name. It must have been the name of a song, and I just didn't remember the name of the song. That could be it.
I'm looking it up.
It's not ringing any bells, though. It's really not. Yeah, I can't think of anything that would be.
Oh, the song is "The Offering" by Sleep Token.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got the memory of a dead goldfish, so I sometimes forget myself. It seems like when I do something, I forget it. When someone else does it, I'm like, no, you did that shit. I remember that shit.
I relate to that a little bit too much.
Oh, man. All right, so it looks like people are starting to filter in.
Because that's going to bother me.
Probably a good idea. I want to listen to it later and be like, I hate this song. Why did I send this to Flesh Priest later? So, yeah. So, okay, I'm recentering. I'm getting recentered. So we were going to talk about, I think, a little bit about, at least the topic was the 7 deadly sins, the concept of deadly sins. And I think that, looking into this subject is important, because I think a lot of demonolators, people who work with dark spirits, most of us on some level originate what we do with the adversarial Christian side, right? In other words, when I say that, I mean, pretty much everything that we're talking about is based on Christian lore somewhere. Abrahamic lore, maybe is the better way to put it. And the 7 deadly sins was something that was created, more or less the Middle Ages as a concept. And it built upon the lore that was already kind of shaping the culture. And we find that a lot of the demons, so-called demons, that we may work with in our practices, foregoing their pagan origins for a moment, just ignoring that, just staying within the Christian dogma. Part of what they were demonized with was this concept of the original 7 sins, the 7 original most deadly sins. Of course, pride being the first. Pride goeth before the fall, And I thought it might be a fun experiment, to talk about how this might be true, because I think a lot of people want to make demons good guys. I think a lot of us want to make them like, oh, they're benevolent gods. They're just good guys that the Christians demonize. Well, I'm not quite sure that's fair, because even the good guys from other cultures, the gods that people would respect and worship, they were capable of some pretty, immature shit from time to time. I mean, look at Athena and Arachne, the whole story between them. Arachne beats Athena in a weaving contest, so she turns her into a spider, to spite her. Now, maybe that was a lesson for Athena, and she learned that was wrong or something, but it's kind of interesting, right? So I don't think it's right for us to completely ignore. When I say diabolical, I don't mean evil, because I don't believe in good and evil, but I think it's wrong of us to ignore the diabolical aspect of these spirits that we have such an interest in treating so well. Now, Wyatt Coverdale, he's the one who said like weeks ago, who prompted something that I've made a video about. These are dangerous beings and be careful and whatnot. And one of my personal original sins, the sin of pride, sort of steps in all the time, right? That's a big piece of the puzzle for me, and could be why Lucifer is one of the spirits that I am closest to. Lucifer represents or is an embodiment of pride in the Christian context. So let's touch this a little bit. Let's play with it a little bit. Let's see if it tastes good, and if not, we'll spit it back out by the end of this conversation. But we'll play with it a little bit. And for this purpose, you guys talk for a minute. I'm going to pull up some information to throw at you guys while we do this. So, Flesh, why don't you respond
absolutely.
to...
I actually got some information. So I did a little research when you mentioned what the topic was going to be, that I found was really interesting. I probably just for a couple hours.
Sure.
But I found out that the 7 deadly sins were originally 8 evil thoughts by Evagrius Ponticus. And so the one that he was a Christian monk. And so when it's just, there's different kind of versions that other, Christians were kind of taking, but they kind of stuck with the 7. But I thought it was interesting how like there's lust, envy, gluttony. They're saying don't do these 7 deadly sins, right? Or they'll take over. But the one that they left out was sadness.
Okay.
So it's
really?
like they're
so
like,
it's really 8 deadly sins.
Yeah, so to me it's kind of like, no, we want you to be sad,
Yeah, right. Good point. Because I guess they figured without suffering and sadness, no one would come to God. I think that's maybe why. If we want to be brutally honest, that always seems to be the pattern for them, doesn't it? Especially if you go back in history, it's always like, life is terrible. It's suffering and pain. The only joy is in the afterlife. So devote yourself to God while you're alive, and give it all to God. And it's like the more suffering, the more people become Christian. And that's true, I think. You go anywhere in the world where everybody's suffering all the time, they're way more religious, aren't they? You go to a place where people are doing well, people become less religious, maybe. What do you think, Flesh? Did you have any thoughts before we dive into some of these things?
I think I might have misheard that or misunderstood. You said the 8th sin was sadness. So by approaching God, wouldn't you be throwing away your sadness, or am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, so there's lust, envy, gluttony, sloth, anger, greed, and pride, and they're saying don't get wrapped up into those things. And so sadness was another one. They're saying, it was what the originator was saying, don't get obsessed with sadness, but they eventually just took out the sadness one. So, because they're saying avoid all these, and so it's kind of like you would think they would keep the sadness one too, avoid getting into a deep state of depression, but they just thought, hey, no, we'll take that one out. I just thought that was interesting.
Okay,
it is interesting that they'd kind of cut that one out. That'd be like a temple of Isis cutting out lust and saying, that's not a sin, that's perfectly fine. It's exactly what you need to do. No, that is interesting. And, people are already commenting, like somebody said, who was it? Who said it? Arachno says, so the demons we're drawn to correlate to the deadly sins that we are strongest in our makeup. Now, I don't want to go too far, because a lot of this is symbolism, right? When we ascribe things to ourselves or other entities, this can be limiting. What I'd rather do is just open your minds to the possibility of a couple of things. Number one, the spirits we work with are all a kind of egregore. Okay, we're a kind of egregore. If you really understand the ontology of the metaphysics of non-dualism, you understand that even we are technically egregores. We're all tulpa. Everything is tulpa. Everything is an imaginary thing on some level. So before you jump, if you're a theistic Satanist, for example, don't jump out of your seat at me and go, heretic, you don't believe in Satan, because then you're acting like a Christian. Relax for a moment and let's embrace the idea, which I do fully, that all of these spiritual beings are myths, but they are alive. They're not. When I say they're myths, notice I didn't put the word just in front of myth. I said they are myths. That doesn't mean just myth. You're a myth too, okay? And I spoke about this last week, I think it was, when I said, if we compare you and Superman, if we were to compare you and Superman, what we know about both entities, okay, if we're being objective, Superman's a lot bigger and more real than you are because it's influenced a lot more things in this world than you ever will. So in a lot of ways, Superman is more alive than you are. It has thoughts even if you really think deeply about what's going on. So the same thing is applied to all of these things. So let's, just for the sake of argument, suggest that what we believe about spirits becomes true about them. Not that, we can destroy them so much, but I do have a saying about dead gods. Not a saying, but I have a term called dead gods. There's a lot of dead gods in our culture. These are gods that few or nobody really worships anymore. We know about them. Some pagans will still work with them, but they don't have temples raised in their honor like they used to. People don't make big sacrifices to them. They're pretty much dead gods, okay? And then you have living gods, the ones that people still make myths about. So like in a lot of ways, the Hindu gods are still alive because they're still being mythologized and worked into our culture. The ones we work with are kind of undead, right? You have these spirits that were dead for a while, nobody worshiped them, people were not allowed to, or only a handful did, and they're re-entering our mainstream conscious. They're like coming back to life. And part of that is what we decide about them. If you Google any demon we work with, anyone from the Goetia or anything, you'll find dozens of websites with information about them. Some of them are original information from the original sources, and some of them are what modern occultists are saying about them. And that's all becoming part of their myth now. So they're evolving as we work with them. It's not just that forget for a moment that it's an objective spirit out there that people are discovering. What if there's a mutual co-creation going on? We create the spirit and they inspire us to create them a certain way. So this leads into what Christians did, maybe knowingly, maybe the higher echelon of Christian culture, the magicians of Christian culture, if you will, the people who keep the secret information in the Vatican. Maybe they knew that they could literally demonize a spirit. In other words, take a spirit and make it fallen just by making enough people believe that, and then ascribing sins to them. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to say, and then I'm going to turn it back to you guys, the 7 deadly sins are a lot like Jungian archetypes, but the bad side of them, like another kind of a Jungian archetype, like a shadow archetype. If you look at my Shadownomicon, okay, the shadows have a lot to do with the 7 deadly sins, because if you read their lore that I have in there for them and what they represent, they very much are tied to the 7 deadly sins. They're very much representative of people having avoidance behavior about those sins. People don't want to be lazy, right? People don't want to be too lustful. People don't want to be this, they don't want to be that. And so these things create shadows that turn into negative behaviors, okay? So let's examine this a little bit more. So Flesh, when it comes to what I just said, do you think, maybe not do you think, what do you think of that? Do you have anything to add or another perspective to put on it? I don't know if this is your forte or not, or maybe you've just been chatting away and you're gonna be like, I'm sorry, I wasn't following. What day is this?
No, I don't have too much to add. I do like the idea of the dark archetypes there, though.
Mm-hmm. So what happens is, go ahead.
Flash both. Well, I think DH too. We kind of gravitate more towards the darker archetypes. But what I was gonna say is that with these 7 deadly sins, I like them all because they're all great to do. And
who can pick a favorite?
If you can keep them to a minimal, it's all good. You can have, a day off or a vacation here and there. It's okay to get upset if, you need to battle someone, to have that pride, that little boost of confidence. But as long as you, keep it under control, and don't let it go over the edge, I think these sins are actually advantageous to us.
One could argue that these things only become sins when they control us, right? Like I don't judge much, right? You can ask Flash, I really don't. I joke, but I don't judge much. But I do judge someone who allows their lusts, passions, desires, weaknesses, whatever, to control them to the point where they're suffering and unhappy. If you are someone who's addicted to something, right? especially when it's addiction that's not like a chemical addiction. Let's say you're addicted to video games, or you're addicted to sex, or maybe you like to eat too much, or whatever. There is a fine line between just kind of indulging those things and being at the mercy of them. We all know somebody who can't fucking keep their hands to themselves in a sexual way. They just can't stop. They have to harass people and send people dick pics. We all know someone recently, in fact, that was like that. So there's a lot of these people that they can't control themselves, and they become completely and utterly self-destructive. And not in a way that is like, oh, I am sovereign and I have the legitimate choice in the matter, right? If you are, so a Luciferian person would say, hey, if you want to delete yourself, if you want to alivent yourself, that's on you, right? If that's really what you want, that's on you. But if you want to alivent yourself because of some external force saying, I can't stop being addicted to this, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's no longer about anything resembling a freedom of will issue, and it becomes completely an issue of submission to your own, what you think is out of your control, right? So think of like a teenage boy who just can't stop whacking. Think about that guy versus someone who's like more integrated and just like, oh, it is what it is, right? Think about someone who can't stop eating. Think about someone, and I don't mean to shame these people by this. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that kind of thing, to me, is when I judge it in a way and go, well, that person's not living their full life anymore. That person is no longer sovereign. They've given up their sovereignty to something external from themselves. So when we're talking about the 7 deadly sins, if you are engaging in them in an integrated way, I think Nicki's completely right. I think they're empowering. I think that they're things that are healthy to a fully aligned being. But so long as you recognize that these are behaviors of the ego, they're not actually yourself, right? You are not lust. You enjoy lust. You are not pride. You enjoy pride. Pride is a thing that is an experience that you have, but it is not a thing that you are. You cannot be prideful, right? Because what you are, being a non-dual entity of not two, meaning there's no separation. Yes, pride is within you, but just like I always tell you, the person you think you are is not who you are. The person you think you are is an aspect of what you are. It's an illusion. It's a delusion. So if you start to identify with those things, it can be a danger. So what are these demons or gods? Because if we're really being honest, if we go back through our antiquity, we can find a lot of gods that actually manifest the same 7 deadly sins, can't we? Right? What's the difference between Eros and Asmodee or Lilith when it comes to lust, right? What's the difference? What's the difference between Ares and Satan when it comes to wrath and destruction and war?
Or Zeus and lust.
Or Zeus, fuck yeah, Zeus is that motherfucker's dangerous when it comes to lust. So for real, like, what is the difference for us? So, what do you guys think?
I think that, there's just different aspects of different deities, so they're going to have their own play on it. I mean, Asmodeus is, damn. I work with a lot of lust daemons, Lilith, Sea-Tree, Asmodeus, even Azazel, to me, is a lowest daemon, and they just kind of have their own kind of twist on it. When I'm more in the Lilith vibe, it's more of a succubus type thing. When it's Asmodeus, it's an all-day kind of thing, and it's just amazing. But I might have other things to do unless I'm working. With Sea-Tree, that kind of vibe with him is more a fun lust thing, one night stand type stuff. And with the Zazel, it's more of a commitment, but with passion. So with a lot of just situations I've been in, so they're all kind of entwined, but I've just had various opinions and directions that they pull me in when I'm working with various lust daemons.
And I would say, like, when it comes to all of these spirits, a lot of them have, look, they're not just monoliths of lust or rage or whatever the fuck, but they are things that they do represent on some level. So like Asmodee, however you want to say it, Ashmadeva, is a spirit of jealousy, wrath, wisdom, and lust. He's not just one of those things. All of those things, plus many other things, but those things in particular are what he's really known for. When you look at the lore about him, especially Ashmadeva, the source of Asmodeus, when you look at the source of that, yes, he has got all these negatives, but he's also very wise. And he sees through people, and he can actually, in doing so, he can kind of read them and sometimes prescribe good things for them, like help them out. So he's not like, oh, I'm just about fucking. He's not just about that. And he's not just about wisdom. He's also very wrathful in his jealousy, because he's jealous. In fact, of the spirits that I know, that I've worked with, I found the only one that rivals him for jealousy is Yahweh. In other words, now some people are going to disagree. They've had different experiences with him, but whenever I've worked with him, he's always been like, no, pay attention to me right now. Don't talk to this other spirit. At least for today, it's all about me. You're working with me. I'm it. Don't pull these, unless it's one of my henchmen or something. It's all about me, my power, and what I want you to know. And he gets really jealous when I start, like, if I'm not giving him the attention he wants, you know. So there is that. Lilith has, yes, she's definitely, some people say Asmodee is the son of Lilith. Some say that it's the husband of Lilith, that it's the alternative of Samael, excuse me. That there's this weird relationship going on. Whether there is or not, if you believe in spirit families or whatever, whichever mythology you like, Lilith has a lot of other qualities besides being just a lusty succubus. She can be a nurturing mother, but when it comes to nurturing, I found that her version of nurturing is more like a crocodile. She'll guard her eggs with a passion, but you're on your own. Like, you got to figure your own shit out, right? She's more likely to teach you things by harshness, not by protecting you. She's not going to say, oh, don't let him touch the fire. She's like, let him touch the fire. That motherfucker will learn. That's how he's going to learn. Touch the fire, bitch. So, I don't know.
Eddie in the chat says, Lilith is a very vengeful love, if that makes sense. Like the Who lyric.
Like that.
My love is vengeance. That's never free.
She can be. Like, when I'm dating someone, I love having girl talk with her. It's fun. We're usually just kind of laughing, or yeah, she just kind of has that, you know, or our girl talk where, you know, we're not going to let anyone else in on what we're talking about in this conversation. I
mean, there's also a misunderstanding. I think it's a misunderstanding. Maybe it's just because I'm a guy, I see it differently. There's this misunderstanding that Lilith is into this hardcore anti-masculine kick. I don't see that at all. I think that she is, of course, an empowering force for women, though. Like, you better respect her and women and the feminine divine and the feminine infernal. Otherwise, you're going to be in deep shit. If you go to her thinking, like, get me laid, Lilith, she's like, all right, I'm going to give you the biggest fucking psycho you've ever fucking found in your life, and you're going to have a hard time, brother, if you get anything. So she's going to make it hurt, right? She's going to, if you want to treat women badly, she's going to treat you badly as in that case. But I don't think that, you know, a lot of people who want to be misandrist will say, a lot of people who are into misandry think that Lilith favors that. Now, I'm a guy, so maybe that's as far as I'm able to go down the river. Maybe one of you guys, maybe Nicki, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you know, feel free. What do you think about that?
It's more just fun, to be honest. So it just has more of that attitude, and we just laugh, crack jokes, sing, and yeah, it's definitely about having that empowering divine darkness. And it's more the focus on that as opposed to something else, you know, so.
Scarlet Bell says she is, referring to what I was saying before, if you're a predator. And that I agree. I think that's where I was trying to get at. Like, I think that if you come at it like women are somehow inferior, you know, it's one thing to be like, oh, women are biologically this or that, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But if you're going to tell me that they're inferior as spiritual entities like a lot of patriarchal systems do, that's retarded. Like, I mean, I know that's a no word for some people too, but that to me is ridiculous. You know, without the womb, without the field, the seed won't grow. You can't. You can't. Look, that's why I wear black on one hand. You know, it's like I remind myself constantly that there is this give and take, and even the take can be a give, right? It's there's this cycle going. And Lilith, I think, is that vengeful side a little bit of the divine feminine that says, hey, you didn't respect me. You didn't respect me, so now you get what's coming to you. Just like that happens in the male side, right? There's a male version of that. But it's a little bit more shrouded because around the world, in every culture, masculinity tends to win out because of reasons, right? Not usually good ones. So instead of it being equal in some way, it's always got to be one's better than the other, and it's always like some kind of contest. But I think I think that might be an element of pride there a little bit, because I think a lot of people, they want their gender to win as if it's a team sport, a team versus team situation, and it's not. It's never meant to be. So a lot go. I mean, I guess it could be for some people, but for me, it's not. I don't think it's team versus team. So let's see. Hellspine says gay guys don't have that cycle. I wonder where they fit in. I don't know where they would fit into that. I don't know. I got to be honest. Like, I've seen some sexist, people on the Rainbow Connection there that actually were like, women need to be this way, men need to be that way, even being that, right? So I don't know. Like, I think that even to say that like gay guys don't experience this or that, or they don't have that, I'm gonna pick a slight bone with you there, because I've known some gay men in my time that you wouldn't know they were gay unless you had like good gaydar or they told you or something. Like, you wouldn't. I think that's an offensive term now. I don't know if that's. Someone help me out, bail me out here, send me a lifeline. People who
as the stream by man, you have a pass there.
Did I do it wrong?
if that's something that's offensive, then I don't know.
Yeah, how are you gonna be able to talk like 5 years from now? Like, every day something gets more offensive, and I don't watch TV or the news or anything, so I have to rely on my Twitter feed or some.
Oh, that's dangerous.
One of my friends get canceled or something. I'm like, oh, okay, we can't do that anymore.
It's getting harder, and it's actually, we're getting more and more puritanical every day. It's like we went to this beautiful place where we could talk and have opinions and we could offend each other, and it was cool. And now we're like lurching, we're running headlong right back into the puritanical pearl clutching pussies that we were in the 50s and 60s, where, oh, she's showing an ankle, where instead of that it's, oh, she's not showing her cooch at everybody. It's like completely opposite, but it's the same puritanical mindset. You can't say that, that's offensive. Like, you couldn't say fuck 1,000 years ago, right? It's the same kind of thing, but what's offending people's changed, and they're using it the same way, because offense gives people power. When you can say, you're offending me and my sensibilities, it gives them power somehow. Like, because they can say, well, if enough people are offended, we won't buy your crap, or we can cancel your favorite show or something. So it's like the 7 deadly sins are being reborn, except this time they're going to be the 7 deadly virtues or some shit. I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, and it's all about brainwashing, because I feel like cancel culture is about brainwashing, and so are the 7 deadly sins. That's why they demonize the sins, and they tried associating them with demons. And then, I mean, I was Christian back in the day, but I went to Catholic church a couple times just because one of my best friends was Catholic. She's like, come to church with me. I'm like, sure, whatever, we'll do something fun after. And but apparently they would have it to where, she would go to confessional every weekend, so we would, go to the mall or like do whatever. Yeah. Then she'd say how she had to like confess all some of the stuff that we did, and apparently the priests wanted them to confess a lot of what had to do with the 7 deadly sins. I don't know for sure. That's just what I saw with my research, but I just found that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Super Chat from Patchwork says, the more things change, the more it stays the same.
Change is the only eternal, and the eternal is only change. Yeah, Ajna says, surely there's gay peeps watching, would be nice to hear from you. No, for real. I mean, honestly, like, I know I can be cringy about it, but, we're totally cool with, like, everything, obviously, around here. So we're not, I'm just an older Gen X dude who just looks at things and goes, I don't know what to say. I'm cool with it all, but just, whatever. No, I mean, so it is important. And I think someone asked, Samuel McKinnon says, Lilith gave birth to what was it? Is Lilith the mother of demons? I think is what they said. Fun question. Would you consider Lilith the mother of demons? I mean, that's the lore. I mean, I don't think that's literal. I think that, you know, let's not become literal Christians personally. I mean, if that's what you want to be, go for it. But I'm not a literal Christian where I read the lore and I go, so somewhere this is the origin of all demons is Lilith. Well, who was Lilith then? You know, like, what, wasn't she a demon? Like, it's just more gobbledygook that's meant to confuse you from your own truth. What I mean by that is, the more you separate the world into spirit and self and this and that, the more you create separation in reality, the less you recognize that there is no separation, and it gets harder for you to find your own divinity. If you see Lilith as the mother of demons, it's really easy for me to go and find some kind of debunking that would destroy that very easily. So then you've got to choose a dogma to believe in. So what I'm telling you is, don't give into doctrinal dogma. And dogma is not belief. A lot of people confuse dogma for belief. Like, they're like, oh, you have a belief, Thorne, so therefore you're dogmatic. No, the difference between dogma and belief is dogma is a thing that hasn't been, you take it on somebody's word, or it's part of a religion or a faith. That's what dogma is. Whereas a thing you've explored and you've come to conclusions comfortably can still be a dogma, but it really depends on how you come to those conclusions. You know, there's honest belief, and then there's dogma, and I discourage dogma. I discourage people from, you know, reading stories about things and assuming that the stories were literal. You know, even the idea that, you know, so like Eddie, he's got his own mythology that he's sort of, if I want to say created, that's maybe not right, but that he's adopted his own mythology for his practices, where Lilith is this patroness, right? This or matron, excuse me, this matron. Why do I say patroness? That's so. See what I mean? This is the problem with our culture these days. Whoops.
That sounds really close to Patronus.
Ooh,
your Harry Potter spirit.
Ooh, that's my hairy spirit. Yeah, that's my hairy spirit.
Yeah, I'm always walking on eggshells because I have a terrible personality to where I like the bad jokes, like stuff that's really messed up and not funny. And, you know, yeah, back in the day when we were growing up, we could say whatever the fuck we wanted to. And it was awesome. It was fun.
I still do, but I wait till I'm not on a live stream. So I treat this.
Like, oh my god.
I treat this like a day in public.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, is anyone recording? Okay, now I can be myself.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, because, look, I grew up as a minority in a neighborhood that is, I was the only white kid on the block for like several blocks for at least a couple of years of my life. And I think everybody should have an experience. I think everybody should, like, for a couple of years, live somewhere that is not their identity, we'll say, okay? Spend some time with something else. Go live in, if you're like a regular white dude, go live in a Spanish neighborhood for a while, or whatever. I think everybody should cross those tracks. You should always walk a mile in every culture's shoes as best you can. And yes, it's never the same. You're never gonna fully understand because you don't live that life. But you'll find that, hey, you know what? We all find the same jokes fucking funny. We really fucking do. You know, I mean, if they're meant with sincerity and no malice, people find just about anything fucking funny. If they don't, it's because they don't like you already. That's something that one of my black friends told me a long time ago. He's like, dude, I've never found any of your racist jokes offensive, but if I didn't like you, I would. You know? So it's like, oh, okay, I think I get some of this. I'm not saying that there isn't insult in them. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying go do it. I'm just saying that, let's be real, okay? To pretend that people don't find jokes funny. Look, I find jokes funny about me, right? I find them funny.
I mean, how many times have we made targeted fucking, like, harsh jokes at one another and fucking laughed about it? Mm-hmm.
Because there's a difference.
Yeah. You guys have a personality. Not too many people have that these days.
Yeah, and it's like we're not allowed to have jokes.
Humor.
Yeah, well, humor greased the skids for integration of our cultures. So we can't have that now. Culture was actually how people in the 90s got over their intolerance.
I'm gonna interrupt really quick. We lost Nicki.
Oh, did we? Oh, word?
Yeah,
okay.
It just showed me that she just dropped out.
Oh, okay. We'll wait. We'll get her back, and then we'll continue where I was going. So I don't want to get super hyper controversial. We're supposed to be spiritual here, but I think that what we're talking about actually has a lot to do with the 7 deadly sins, because it's become a modern deadly sin, hasn't it? This idea.
Yeah, I'd say so. And it's one of those things where I feel like people have a voice nowadays. Like, people more than ever can be heard, and in a lot of ways that's really important, and I love that. I think it's so good. It can also be used very dangerously, which is where I kind of feel like with these 7 deadly sins, I feel like it's impossible to avoid them, and really by restricting yourself from them, you're limiting your human experience. Where, as you were saying, it's about managing those in a way, and I feel like the same can apply to everything that we're doing nowadays. Just, it is really great, but you got to manage it in the correct way as well. Like call out culture, all of that. It can be very good, but it can also be very bad, as we've seen.
Yeah, and let's be honest, culture applies to the vast network, not to us as individuals in our personal lives, really. There's kind of an artificiality about our culture. Well, there always has been. Like, that's not, like, nobody's shocked when I say that. But there's a really hyper artificiality now with the internet, and this perception that if Twitter doesn't like what you do, you must go. Like, why is Twitter the arbiter of what is proper at all? Why is Facebook? Why are your friends on these platforms matter when you have friends in real life that don't care, right? And a lot of it also is context. When you're on the internet, things you say get twisted out of proportion, because of the way language works in written form. So like a joke that would be normal to everybody in person gets really offensive on the side, right? On the internet, excuse me. So, but yeah, so I think one of the things I would say is, like, there's this old, I don't know if it's old, but there's this Buddhist comic that would make the rounds every once in a while when I was more, oh, she's back. All right, I'll shut up again.
And
Nicki!
I will magically disappear.
Oh, no, you already did that. Now you need to reappear. Okay. He's time traveling.
Oh, really quick, super chat from Cult of the Sun says, keep up the good work, DH.
Thank you, Cult of the Sun. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Nicki, in case you weren't following along, we were just commenting about stuff, waiting for you to get back. But one of the things we were saying was that, of course, all of this, prudery is no different than the prudery from the 7 deadly sins. And in a way, I was getting to the point that, so there's this old Buddhist joke. There's like a comic that would go around. It was this monk was going to his master saying, "Master, I've achieved enlightenment. I'm at peace with the world," and blah, 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 blah. And he says, "Yeah, you think so? Go spend Thanksgiving weekend with your family, and then get back to me." So it's sort of like that. And the meaning of the joke is, if your goal is to have non-attachment, right? One of the best ways to test it is to engage in and know those things that are your downfall. So in the story of Siddhartha Gautama, when he becomes the Buddha, one of the final things that happens is he has to confront Mara, the great demon that has all the 5 lusts or whatever, that confronts him, and he has to deal with them. And of course, the lore goes that he just sat there in this pious way, unmoved. What if what really happened was he engaged in those things, but they didn't have any attachment to him anymore? What if it was, didn't matter, I can do whatever I want, it doesn't affect me, right? Is it better to wall yourself off from all of these influences and say, ha, they don't influence me anymore, or to allow them to permeate you and still not be moved? Which is stronger? Which is more integrated? Which is more powerful? Which is more enlightened? The person who is just completely devoid of all wrongdoing, or the person who is still divine despite all of that? Me personally, I think it's the latter. I don't think it's the one who walls it off. What do you guys think?
I think it's just what I've learned with balance, and that would be with these deadly sins or with anything, is, yeah, like you said, because this happened to me about a month ago. I thought, oh, I'm balanced. And then the second I said that, I realized I wasn't balanced, because I had a bunch of situations I needed to work out with people, either from my past or that are in my current life. And it's just having that continuous balance and effort. But at the same time, there's also, if you get deeper than that, a balance of the balance. Like, you can't be obsessed with being balanced all the time. So, for example, the Buddhist perspective on ascension is, don't trip on it. Don't worry about ascension. You've ascended. You have. But at the same time, if you're not putting the spiritual work in at all, and you're just saying, yeah, I'm ascended, like I did, 15 years ago when I was a Christian, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm forgiven, then that's really not great either. It's kind of just, I think it's just being aware and balanced, but not letting even that balance of your heart or whatever take over,
I think that a lot of people... Go ahead, Fletchy. I talk too much as it is.
I was just going to say I'm in agreement there. I mean, it's like with alcohol or whatnot as an example, like I find somebody who wants to limit their consumption but can still have a drink, can still do whatever, more in control of their own self rather than somebody who needs to completely block it out completely. That's still a measure of control over them.
I think so, I think so. And I would also say that, to touch on what Nicki said about work, I don't like work. Maybe one of my biggest sin influences is sloth, but I don't think we have to work on it. I think what happens is we as a divine source, because that's what we are the divine source having a human experience right now. As that source truth, we are the equivalent of Yahweh if we were going to be in that current, right? You would say, wait, I am God. That's the real epiphany, right? That's not what I'm saying, because I don't believe in gods in that religious way. But you are the source. You are that non-dual truth, okay? And you're having a human experience, and you're having an experience because you don't want to be the everything, you want to be the something. You've decided you want to have a limited human experience, and the big piece of that is limit. And that limit requires work and growth and change and adding to the top and taking from the bottom all the time. It's this constant cycling in and out of things that make you who you are. It's called the cycle of samsara, and at least that's one way to describe it. And we're always in a state of becoming. And so what we like to do, because we're not really ready yet, we like to create an endless path to walk of constant improvement at work that we need to do. I've got to fix this problem in myself. I'm not perfect this way. I'm not perfect that way. I wasn't ascended when I was 15, but now I'm getting better. And that's a thing we do to always put it off a little bit more, because I think we know intuitively that if we really were that way, if we were ready, we'd just do it, okay? And we wouldn't have any shame in it. Like, I consider an animal, in a lot of ways, I know this goes against like what Eastern people believe in their doctrines of Buddhism and all this. I believe a lot of animals are way more enlightened than we are, because they don't give a fuck about half the shit we care about, right? They're simplified down to, I need to eat and fuck and sleep and not feel pain. And if I can get through with that, they don't suffer things. You scold your dog, sometimes they sulk for a while, but that's usually an act just to get something out of you. Like, I don't think that they feel the same way we do about things. I don't think that they have that sense of real remorse and suffering and just echoing agony that we go through. And they're actually a little bit, they're more at peace than we are. And one could argue that means that it's harder for them to ascend because they don't have that challenge to work through. But I think, again, we put this endless stairway in front of us because we don't want to be there yet. We just don't want to be that yet. We say we do. We've set foot on the path because we there's a part of us that says, I want to be that. I know I can be. I know I am that, but I'm not ready yet. So we make this path. I've got to work with Lucifer. I've got to break free from the church. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I have to learn how to feel my aura. We think of all these little goofy things we can do to put more hurdles to jump over. And let me tell you, once you've jumped over most of those hurdles, you'll find new ones to jump over. People look at me like, oh, Thorne, I envy you because you're this and that. You can do this and that. I am prideful, like I said. But I look at myself and I go, I don't see any more hurdles. I do. I see lots of hurdles, but they're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter what hurdle I jump over next. It's just another hurdle I've jumped over. It's not, there's no progression from here to there. It is just another thing to do, right? And it's part of the joy of life is, okay, I've mastered this. I learned how to play a flute. I did martial arts. I'm losing weight now. I got a YouTube channel. I do occultism again. They're just things that I do. And they don't make me better. They really don't. I've gotten worse at some things, right? Like if you get good at magic, you might start to not get good at things that, you know, you let magic take care of for you, right? Might be one way to look at it. So I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm wrong, but from my perspective, I don't think there's improvement because you're already that. You're already that. What you're doing is you're wiping away the delusion that you're not that. That's what I think the work is. I think the work is wiping away the delusion. And if there is work, that's all it is. I don't think it's work. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to, like, you know, do a Thorne here, but you know, I see smiles.
Yeah, no, I agree. You kind of enlightened me on something because I think about that because I've actually experienced rainbow body. Have you heard of rainbow body?
I've heard of it. Go ahead and tell us though.
They've, you know, gotten to a point of vibration to where they've been able to turn into a rainbow light and ascend in front of people. I've gotten to some form of rainbow body, but not completely, obviously, since I'm still here. But, you know, I feel as though I could do that and ascend whenever I want if I want to. And sometimes because I think about this because, you know, on this path, ascension's, you know, on my mind. And I'm usually thinking, okay, now's not the time for me to ascend or descend because, you know, I have a lot of things to do, like you said, and it's like I need to get out of that mentality at the same time. But that's, I guess, part of the balance of not, you know, I'm thinking, okay, Azazel wants me to do this, I have this task to do, and there's so much that I want to serve for others in the infernal community, you know. But it's like after I do that, I'm still going to be wanting to have more goals and tasks, you know. So I think it's good to really just kind of keep that in mind, you know. Sure. The time is an illusion, you know. There's always going to be something. So just being, you know, happy with your current state, you know.
Let me give you guys a metaphor, right? Let me give you an example. Let me give you a hypothetical to prove kind of what I'm getting at, and I think that you're seeing is that when we look at a hamster on a hamster wheel, don't we go, they must be so dumb. Like, how is that fun? They must not know they're not going anywhere, right? Because imagine yourself. If you're on a treadmill, you have to do everything in your power to not realize you're on a treadmill to be okay with being on a treadmill, right? If you're in a room without a TV and you're on a treadmill and you're just running and you're not even just imagining that you're running somewhere, it's like becomes boring pretty fast. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying it's most people would agree that's not fun. You'd much rather run out on the street and go jogging down the street than a treadmill is just a more comfortable way to run. That's why we do it. But we want to be watching TV. When I run on the
streets, I can be distracted. When I run on a treadmill, I get to focus on my pain.
Yeah, right. That's another way to look at it. So, but I think that, you know, if we compare, a lot of people would say if you had your druthers and you could do anything, you'd probably, you know, you might like the treadmill experience because it's cushioning your run and it's more healthy and all that, sure. But you and I both know most people would rather, if they could experience that same kind of running out in the wild, they'd much rather be running through a forest or some beautiful location if they could, or walking for that matter, whatever it is, right? I know that I don't like using the treadmills, not because I'm fat or out of shape, but because to me it's boring as fuck. I'd much rather drive my car to the park and do a 5-mile walk around than walk 5 miles on a treadmill and watch the news, right? To me, that's just like, I feel like a fucking idiot. So I'd much rather be doing that because I feel like there's more progress, which is another thing. If you look at your treadmill, don't they show you how many miles? Isn't there something there to give you that dopamine hit of, look at that, I made it a little further. Oh, here comes a hill. Oh, I made it over the hill. They give you like all these different things to like make you feel like there's progress going on. So you crave a sense of progress in life. And a lot of that is your ego working, right? A lot of that is your ego saying, I need to feel like I'm improving all the time to have a good experience, otherwise I don't feel good. But a lot of it is also just boredom, right? You don't want to just be staring at four walls and being bored all day, right? So it's almost like if you were to walk on a treadmill and remove all of these fun things, you'd kind of be like an ascetic, excuse me, is the word I'm looking for, who moves to the top of a mountain and just eats gruel and wears rough clothing for the rest of your life and never bathes and grows your beard real long. What difference would there be? You'd kind of be the same thing, right? You're still having the same kind of like, well, I know this is good for me, even though I'm really hating it, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that a good analogy or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you disagree? Do you prefer a boring run on a treadmill to like walking in the park? I mean, if you had to choose, which would you choose?
Like I was making a joke of it, but I was also being sincere with like sometimes I do actually appreciate just being on a treadmill and lets me focus on my pain.
Really?
So
okay.
I can learn how to work through that.
Okay.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love the scenery of running through the woods and
But did you notice a key? Did you notice a key that you just said to work through that? So you've created a progression there somewhere. You know, it's not just like if there's not just a empty walking that you're doing. There's a sense of progress going on somewhere in that experience. I just figured the analogy of the treadmill was easier because I think a lot of people can relate that I would rather walk down a beautiful, you know, park than if I had the choice. You know, a lot of people don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I wrong, guys? Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong.
I don't know.
Okay.
I love hiking. I think it's probably just personal preference too.
That's true.
And being in nature and grounding. I hate the treadmill because I don't have one myself. Maybe if I had one in a huge like big screen TV watching movies, that'd be cool. But I don't
like it was
being at
VR.
the gym. Yeah. And I don't like looking at the numbers because then I'm constantly looking. And then I don't like the not to be negative Nancy, but the calorie thing. What do you mean I've only burned 20 calories?
Oh yeah, fuck that thing.
I mean, like, I've been sprinting for 10 minutes. That makes no sense. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might be having difficulty with it because I'm connecting too much to the literal of what you're saying with the treadmill.
It could be. I mean, Scarlett doesn't agree either. She says, I like both. And I'm like, okay, but I think the point I'm trying to make is maybe getting clouded in the example is that without a sense of progression, you kind of feel like it's pointless. And then you don't want to do it. And that sense of progression is why we do it. You know, would you walk on a treadmill if there was nothing to gain from it? Even, you know, I don't think you would. Even if it was just the pleasure of the pain, I guess. But there's always got to be this sense of gain, this sense of accomplishment, this sense of attainment somewhere in it, or I don't think people do it. You know, like another thing to realize is that, you know, humans are more motivated by avoiding discomfort than experiencing pleasure. You know, if trying to give a good example because I can't just off the top of my head, but if I were to challenge you with offering you pleasure to do something or pain for you to do something, if I were to say, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to hurt you. If you do this, I'm going to give you $100, right? Most people, if it was something they didn't want to do, the $100, if it was the right thing, they wouldn't do it. But if I said I'm going to hurt you, they'd be more inclined to do it, unless they're maybe a masochist, I suppose, you know, or something like that. But I think they'd be more inclined. You know, when I say hurt you, I mean, so if you look at your behaviors, you are more motivated by achieving comfort. In other words, to not have discomfort, than you are by achieving pleasure. You know, think of it this way. At any given time, most of us could go and rub one out, go have sex, do whatever, anytime. We could eat cookies, we could do anything we want. But we know that there's pain associated with that. We can't do it all the time. And it's work, right? It's much easier to just kind of sit here and watch D.H. Thorne and friends talking on a stream than go engage in that ultimate, oh, that feels so good. We can't do that all the time, right? So we don't seek pleasure as much as we seek comfort. And comfort meaning absence of discomfort, really. So, you know, I think that's another important thing. And that brings us to some, let's go back to the sins for a minute. So why would those sins? So what about those sins would be, so if we understand like, okay, pride and moderation, I guess, is okay. What about pride can get in your way in terms of, we'll say, both left-hand practices, non-dual practices, even right-hand practices? What does pride do when it becomes too much? So what would too much pride be like? So Fleshy, you go first, because you don't strike me as the pride type. Like, not really.
I take offense to that.
Ooh, there's his pride talking.
You got me pegged.
No, I don't. I know that's like a dream come true. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You wouldn't have. I'm not gonna pursue that. I'd say, fucking hot take. Having too much pride could definitely get in your way. Because thoughts. Oh my god. Somebody bail me out here.
No judgment.
Okay,
You got this.
I can.
Okay, Nicki.
I've known a lot of prideful people. I've had my moments too, and it can get in the way because you can lose friends. There's this book I'm reading right now. Actually, it's How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it just kind of shows you of different things you could do, and it really involves pride too. Taking your pride aside, treating other people, like for example, a janitor or someone that you normally might not learn their name, you learn their name, and say someone who is the principal of a school, taking that pride aside to say, you're equal to me and you're a human being and I want to get to know you. Where if that someone in a high level position thinks that they're better and they have that pride to, not get to that level of the other person equally, that can really affect even how the school runs, as an example. Because if everyone works together as a team and has that positive attitude without thinking, oh, I'm better than the other person, that can go a long way, and I've had friends where, especially with this cancel culture that it encourages, I've had almost people not want to be my friend because I stood up for another one of my friends who's a black magician in the community. Oh, they don't like, how they charge for their services, or so-and-so charges a lot or whatever, and I have to say, just, hey, we have differences. I don't mind this. I'm going to stick up for my friend. I think that we should still be friends, though, and not argue about this, or, because we have a lot more in common than just that.
I'm sure we've all got friends that don't get along with each other, right? Like, I know there's probably a few occultists that you associate with that hate my guts that I probably wouldn't want to hang out with, and vice versa in flesh. I'm sure there's a lot of people that like me that don't like you, So it's like, I mean, what do we do? All kill each other over it? It's stupid. It's like, and yeah, I mean, so I think pride, though, I think what pride really is a kind of ignorance, right? I think pride, I always say that you've got benevolent versions of these things and malevolent versions. And benevolent pride is saying, I'm secure enough in myself that I don't mind failure. I don't mind being wrong. I don't mind, I'm so beautiful and perfect that it's okay if I'm imperfect, kind of thing. And that's kind of like a healthy kind of pride. Like, look at what I accomplished. Isn't that great? But I could maybe do better. But pride is a kind of ignorance, and it leads to a couple of interesting behaviors. One of them is actually false humility, is this idea that I must try to be better, right? You wouldn't want to try to be better if you didn't already love yourself in a prideful way. If you didn't want to be perceived as, even by yourself, as being a good person, you wouldn't work towards these things. So, for example, when someone says, I'm trying to become a better person, I'm going to say, why? Why are you trying to be a better person? Well, I just, it's hard for me to do the right things, and I want to be a better person. For who? Who are you trying to be a better person for? Well, I feel like I'm too proud all the time, and I try to be more humble. You try to be more humble. For whose sake are you trying to be humble? Let's be honest. Who needs to tell you that you're humble? So if you feel like you need to be more humble, you're probably just trying to show off to somebody, whether that's somebody in your environment or someone inside yourself you think cares, right? You don't feel good about yourself. I need to be more humble. I'm too proud. I need to tone it down. Why? Unless you're trying to have more pride, basically. It's a paradox, is what I'm saying. So, but pride is a kind of ignorance that is built out, and I say especially malevolent pride. Benevolent pride, not so much. But malevolent pride is built out of a belief that you are not, you don't look at the world and say, that's me. Or you do, and you say, look how great I am because that's me. You have this sense of objectification of yourself. You think of yourself as, I am this awesome thing. Look at what I am. Woohoo! And this creates a sense of separation from what you really are. Whereas someone who has maybe a healthy sense of pride says, I'm not going to hate myself no matter what I do, because I'm proud of what I am, and I am all of this. And if I fail, if I fall down, if I fuck up, maybe I'll be depressed for a minute because, life sucks and it can hurt. But I'm going to get back up and say, nope, I'm just going to keep pushing because... So pride actually has a benevolent side. Pride can make you pick yourself back up even when you've fallen down, right? And I think when you integrate pride, you become less inclined to see the world under you, but to take pride in the wholeness that you are, and to it kind of transcends the sin of pride and becomes a type of compassion. And I am doing a video about compassion. It's already done. It'll be released probably this weekend, but it becomes a kind of compassion. Like I have pride in my wife's work. I have pride in my son. I have pride in myself. I have pride in flesh. I have a pride in this show. I have a pride in all these things. And I want them all to succeed because I'm associated with them. I want them to do better because it makes me look good. It makes me feel good to know that I'm involved. And this pride kind of circles around and becomes a joy to me to see other people succeed, right? Especially if I know them, especially if I can say, their success that they just had, I remember talking to them about this the other day, and I can see like the thing I said just helped them a little bit. Man, I feel great. I was part of that, right? So yes, that's pride. And some would say you shouldn't have any of that. And some would say, like I'm trying to say, is integrate it a little bit. Like if your idea of integrating pride is to be a master of it, you're going to fail, because you're never going to do that. You have to learn to live with what's there. You can't eradicate pride. Pride is part of reality. It just is. You can't, if there's one prideful person in the world, then you are prideful, right? If you understand what I'm saying. So that's pride. What do you guys think? Again, any contradictions or anything I'm saying that's wrong, or in the chat too, what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I feel like having a balance of pride is healthy. Say you win a championship with sports, or it's also good for defense too. If someone has the evil eye for you, or they're jealous, if you're just content with who you are and you have that good amount of pride, then I feel like it's an advantage and it's a good defense too.
Yeah, I think it's, and again, if we try to just flush pride, what happens? What are we then? What do you become? You become a noodle. Like, what are you then? Like, if you don't have any sense of love for yourself, right? How can you love the world, right? How can you love anything outside yourself if you can't even love yourself? So you need a little bit of pride, right? So let's and now, for those of you who don't know, you can look this up if you don't know already, but different spirits are associated with different, especially demonic spirits, we'll say. So Lucifer, in most of there's other ones, there's some variation between them, but the one that I like says Lucifer and pride. Lucifer represents pride, and pride Lucifer. So, that might be why Lucifer is one of my big guys, because I have a prideful nature. The irony is that people don't know that I'm actually quite sensitive and I do actually have soft spots. People will think, oh, you're so arrogant and egotistical. I tend to manifest that more in a benevolent way, right? It's only towards people that, as a chameleon type of person, because I am, when I'm around somebody that is prideful, like in a bad way, I rub them the wrong way, because I'll start to act a little bit like them, trying to fit in with them, trying to be with them, trying to resonate with them. So if they don't like me, a lot of the times what they don't like is what they see in themselves. And I would say the same thing, by the way. When I see somebody that I don't like, I'm not saying it's always true, but a lot of times I see in them something that if I was doing it, or that I'm afraid that I might do, or that I do know is true about me, and I go, you can't have, it's almost like Highlander, there can be only one. Like, there can be only one D.H. Thorne the asshole, okay? There's only one of me. There can't be 50 of me, right? So I look at that person and go, we're too much alike. Maybe we won't get along forever. right? Especially if there's an air of competition going on. Like, you know what? I wish you all the success. I'm not trying to be better than you, but you do yours over there. You know.
I like that attitude about yours, because when we started becoming friends, I remember it helped boost my ambitions, because you said, oh, I didn't know you still did this anymore. I didn't know you still made YouTube videos, because back then I would make YouTube videos here and there, and I'm a really competitive person, so you know, that attitude that you have is actually, I like having friends like that, because I'm kind of like that with some of my friends, and I never really had a friend like that who would kind of make it fun and competitive, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna start making my videos. Yeah. Now I'm making a video every Saturday, and it helped me get into gear, because it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while. But it's like having that friend who has like that tough, good, you know, knowledge and wisdom to give you and inspire you. That's why, like, you really are an inspiration to me, because it really sparked that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do this.
I love to build people up, because I also know that if I fall down, that motherfucker is going to pick me up and drag me across the finish line when I fuck up. Like, that's how I see it. It's like, if I make everybody the more I can empower people, the better I do. Like, that's how I generally feel. And I'm not saying I pull it off all the time. I get selfish sometimes too. Anybody does. Like, I'm not going to lie and say, like, I never looked at somebody's YouTube channel and says, that motherfucker's growing faster than me. I better beat him this week. But if I know them, I always go, good job. Good fucking job. Good fucking job. Good job, because that means you're doing something right, and I can learn from you now, and I can take something from your book, and we can always build each other up in the future, right? So to me, it's like, you know, I also believe that, like, if I have an enemy, I want to do better than them. Like, at everything. Like, when I see them, I'm like, oh, look, I'm making more money than them. Oh, look, my YouTube channel's better. Oh, look at them. They can't even do this and that. And that's an evil side of me. Like, I'm totally okay with it, though. Like, I don't hate that part of me. You know,
haters are a really good inspiration for me. Yeah.
Except for when they're accurate. When they're accurate, oh, man, I hate that. When someone, like, gets me on something, and they call me out like, oh, Thorne, you're that. Oh, fuck. I guess I am a little bit like that, aren't I? Fuck. That'll fuck me up for like days. It could be just like the most trollish comment, but they just got lucky in what they were trolling or something. I'm like, delete this motherfucker. And it'll just echo in my head for like the rest of the day. Like, man, he called me fat. I am fat. I feel fat. That motherfucker called me fat. Don't call me. What's wrong? Why did you call me fat, motherfucker? And it'll just bother me for like the whole day, you know? So like, that's also probably not unrelated to pride, because if we understand the 7 deadly sins, we also know that pride is literally the source of all the other sins, right? Pride is really, you know, all the other sins in the 7 deadly sins can be traced to pride ultimately. So let's pick another one. Flesh, unless you have something you want to add to what we're saying, pick a sin for us from the 7.
Let's go with wrath. Ooh. I am a fan of wrath.
Wrath's a badass. So wrath is Satan in the 7 deadly sins compendium of demons that are associated. So for those of you who wonder, are Lucifer and Satan the same? No, they're certainly not. But they are both adversaries. One could say that Lucifer is the light bringer aspect of Satan, if you wish, because they're both adversarial. Like Lucifer is the adversarial rebel. But one could say that rebelliousness actually led to the adversarialism, if we want to go from just a purely Christian dogma perspective. You know, so that's why one would say that Satan is more like something Lucifer is than the other way around. But Satan really is just a title. You could call, you know, just like you could say Lucifer as a title in front of Asmodee, you could say Satan as a title in front of Asmodee. Asmodee Satan, basically, would be a way you could put it. You know, so this is why a lot of times people will say, oh, they're all different faces of the same deity. And that's if you're a theist. But okay, so Satan and wrath. I'm going to let you start, since that was your choice, Fleshy. Tell us about wrath. What do you think about it? You're like, fuck, I hate this part.
I do hate this part. You go.
No, you go, Bluey.
Man, I'm monitoring a bunch of other shit.
No.
I can go.
Okay, Nikki, you go ahead.
I've got questions for you, but
I saw.
I'm changing gears too much.
I saw a different version, and it said that someone else's view. They said that Azazel was wrath.
Okay. Yep. I think I've seen that one. Yep.
I'm gonna go with that on mine because, yeah, he's he's definitely very warrior vibes. Like, once he'll encourage magical warfare. Should I, put, like, once me and this magician were going back and forth, and there was no, conversation physically, but we were talking telepathically, and it was just like, I kept feeling his presence and whatnot. I'm like, what should I do, Malik? Well, sometimes I kind of vibe with Azazel and Malik Taos together, so I'll ask both of them. And but with Malik Taos, he's like, destroy them. And I'm like, okay, okay. Like, it's funny because Belial actually sent me to Azazel to get more balanced, and for the most part, I feel as though, I do feel I'm the type of person who really has a genuine, pure heart. I'm really big on honesty, on being true to myself and people that I know. And, but at the same time, I always kind of strive towards being pure, more compassionate. And then it's funny because I thought, okay, so he's sending me to Azazel, I need to be more balanced, so I need to be more of those things. Oh no, you need to be more warrior. You need to take care of business, because as much as I'm really into forgiveness and, showing love, it's sometimes even in order to do that, you have to have justice,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely. I could see Satan also having a wrath aspect, but I guess just in my experience, I saw that, Azazel was I'm gonna blow out my candles.
I gotta light some more incense, actually. It's getting, like, not stinky in here. It's getting anti-stinky.
Yeah, so yeah, I would just say that, but it's pretty fun doing that kind of stuff, actually. Getting into battle and.
That's that is definitely wrathful. Azazel definitely fits. Ares fits. Ares. Ares fits. Mars fits. But you could even say the same thing about a lot of spirits, because a lot of spirits have been associated with wrath and war at some point. But so. Flesh, based on what Nicki said, what do you have to say?
I
have no idea.
I'm handling back-end stuff. I'm following chat shit.
Damn it,
I'm
boy!
sorry.
We're live here, and these these little words floating by take your attention away from us, the beautiful ones. What is wrong with you?
The chosen one?
The chosen ones right here. You're ignoring us for the...
In a
Look,
non-dualist
man.
sense, are we not all the chosen ones?
Yeah, but I'm a little bit more chosen. That's the pride. That's the...
Ooh, that smells like pride. Yep, I smell pride in the oven.
Smells good, though, don't it?
Oh, no, wait, that's the incense. Never mind.
Oh, that's the incense. Yeah. Oh, I put the lilac on. My wife... lilac... Ah, man, lilac. I love lilac flowers, but lilac incense smells like your dead grandma's purse. Very good for necromancy, though. Lilac is an excellent necromancy incense, but damn does it suck for fucking life.
I will throw this in just as an observation in terms of wrath. I do find it interesting that is one of the 7 sins, and, good old Sky Daddy of Jehovah, really, really wrathful, at least in the old book.
That's another great point. If wrath is a sin, here you have, I guess, as it says in the Bible, it is not a sin when God does it, So, they pretty much say that. Like, vengeance belongs to the Lord, basically. Vengeance a bad thing, but he can do it, So, rules for thee, but not for me. So, wrath is obviously a piece of pride. In fact, if we're going to look at our Shadownomicon for a moment, one could argue that wrath is embodied by the colossal shadow, right? And the colossal shadow is the side of us that feels impotent and makes us want to be raging and wrathful and hurtful and do damage and all of these things. And that sense of impotence, of course, is the bruised pride, the bruised ego, right? The bruised ego. And ego and pride are kind of like, the same thing, right? Pride and ego go together like ham and eggs or something. Like they kind of like like back and front. Like they're like kind of like the same thing. Like your ego is what has the pride problem, you know. So when you have a bruised ego and a bruised pride, that makes us wrathful. Now, of course, you could argue that there is justified wrath, and I think we could all say that if you broke into my home right now and freaking came and started stabbing my wife, the fact that the police would find your body at all is a miracle. They'd probably find pieces of it all over the place. So the wrath that you would experience is probably going to be on a biblical level. I'm talking like the sun's going to turn black, okay? It's going to be horrible. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, there is definitely wrath that is not wicked and evil. There's wrath that is justified and belongs in our toolbox. Why else would we do cursing? You know, why else would we curse people? Wrath is an aspect of hate, and hate is okay, right? Like I'm with LeVay at least most of the way when he talks about hate. Hate is a thing that we must embrace, but not so that we can inflame it and be hateful, but so that that hate can run its course. If you deny hate, hate lingers and it gets stuck in you, and you end up just destroying yourself. It becomes the colossal shadow. So wrath unfulfilled becomes the colossal shadow. Wrath fulfilled, let's go. Now to truly, so this leads back to baneful magic. If I'm cursing a motherfucker, if when I'm done with the curse, I still hate them and want them to die with a passion and can't get them out of my head, have I done the curse at all? No, the curse didn't work. I know it didn't work. I know it's not going to work yet. The curse only works when when they're completely out of your mind and you don't care anymore. When you're just like, fuck them. I don't care what happens to them anymore. You've let all of that go. That's when that curse is just going to be bang, and that's when it's going to hit them the hardest. So something to keep in mind. You know, wrath is a very valid sin in the sense of, yeah, don't throw it away. Don't throw it away.
So it's unrelated to the conversation at hand, but I did have a question in chat. Do you want me to read it out?
No, they don't matter. We're the chosen ones, of course. Yeah, I gotta read it out, bro.
Hellspine was asking, they need to do a spell for a friend tonight for her job interview.
Okay.
They're not sure who to call, but they have her back enough that they want to do something on short notice. Do you guys have any recommendations for spirits?
So what is it for? To get a job, basically? To say it again?
A job interview.
A job interview. So are they trying to, what angle do they want to use, right? Do they want to have prosperity? A prosperity ritual would be a good choice, because then what will happen is this job may not be the right one. And so rather than, like, let's walk back through our filter of ego and say, am I looking for this job or for the prosperity that I think it'll give me? What if that job doesn't give the prosperity that I think I'm looking for? What if that job is illusory and it's going to be a bad choice maybe? So my personal recommendation would be to walk the client or person back. By the way, you owe me a 10% finder's fee now on the advice. No, I'm kidding. You walk the person back through their issue to find the higher intention that they're trying to satisfy. They think it's the job. You think it's the job. We all think it's the job, but the job is just a symptom of that thing that needs to be dealt with. So do a ritual, personally, I think, for prosperity, just a general prosperity ritual. And and you can lean into the job in the ritual, but it doesn't have to be the job. Just do a general prosperity ritual. So in that case, you're going to want to work with like Maimon, with King Person, any spirit that has to do with wealth, riches, finding hidden treasure, anything like that will give you that. King Paimon is excellent for this, because King Paimon, he's kind of like a great Swiss Army knife spirit. He's good at most things. And if he can't do it, he can bring a spirit into your path that can. So that's my take. What do you think?
He actually clarified too. They said they want to get the money fast, hired fast paycheck to get ahead for a short boost.
Okay. Definitely prosperity then. Like, I would just go with, like, screw the job. Like, the job may not be the right way to do it. Go with prosperity and then use the job as the stepping stone. So in other words, you do the prosperity ritual, and then they have to pursue the job and any other opportunities that come into their web. whether it be a lotto ticket, whether that be anything and everything that they can do to invest. Tell them to get some Bitcoin, tell them to get some Ethereum, tell them to get a new job, tell them to do everything. Call in some debts or something. Give them all the pragmatic advice that goes with that. And when you do the prosperity spell, hopefully there'll be an explosion, if you will, of prosperity that will result, that's building on that. That's what I would say. Nicki, what do you think? Anything to change or add or anything?
I'm not really big on giving advice on those type of questions.
Okay, all right. Well, it is their client and stuff, right? So.
No, I think that information that should get them sorted.
Okay. So I don't know if Okay, no problem. So I was just checking to see if my wife had her computer working again. It's still crapping out, so she's not going to join us after. I thought she might call in or something. So let's
And speaking of call-ins are open. Message Flesh Priest on Skype or Discord. Link up above my head if you want to get on and talk to the special chosen ones.
Talk to you wouldn't be a chosen one though, because you weren't chosen to be on tonight. You will be a adjunct of the chosen.
I am nothing more than the man with the vuvuzela in the court.
We got to get you one.
Discuss this before the stream.
We are so going to, and not only that, I forgot to tell you. This week, I'm going to look into getting a phone number for Skype for one of us, even if I have to give you the money and but get a phone number so people can literally call in with their phones instead of having to use Skype. So if you don't have access to Skype, but you've always wanted to call in, but you don't know how, but you got a phone and you can dial a phone number, we could do that. So I'm going to look into that.
Get the only question hardcore coast to coast vibes.
Yes.
That'd be cool if you got it to where it was 1-800.
No, it'll have an area code, unfortunately, but that would be cool. 1-800-DH Thorne 661 or something. Yeah, we have to have those old 900 commercials like, call now to have your questions answered about magic.
The old Discord, the tree.
Oh, sexy
tree.
Oh
Rest
yeah,
in peace,
1-800 sexy tree.
Yeah, 1-800 sexy tree.
We do have
Wooga. So
that would screw with everybody because nobody knows 10 key anymore. Like the 1-800 sexy tree wouldn't work because we don't see that shit on our fucking touchpads anymore.
Right. People would just start trying to type it in like, what number is this? Yeah, but I think the way Skype works is it would be a local number for me most likely. So it'd be like a 631, 516, 518. It'd be something goofy like that. So, but people could theoretically call in then, so that would be kind of cool. Maybe if I could choose, I'd probably do. I mean, Dark Lord Sparta had the 867-5309. I'd probably do like 666 evil. Actually, when I was growing up, if you dialed that number, it did actually go somewhere cool, and it had like a cool recording. So I don't know if it still works, but 666 evil used to be a fun phone number to call. All right, so we've covered pride, we've covered wrath. Someone give us an option for the next one. Oh, looks like we might have. April might have figured it. No? Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear from chat. First one I see. First of the 7 deadly sins we haven't covered. That will be the next one. And Tatum asked about the next movie night. If you were in our server.
We forgot that. You weren't gonna be there, so I think you were like, screw this.
Oh no, I'm gonna be there this week.
By the end of tonight, we are gonna be. You want to tell them because we'll do the reading within a few minutes to decide.
Yeah, well, you're figuring that out. And Greed is going to be our next one.
Okay, Greed, tasty.
If you want to hang out with us on the weekends and shit, watch movies, play games, shit like that, what you need to do is go to our Discord. And in the server info section, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there will be a little message from a robot. You click on the TV icon underneath that, and you get access to that. Automatically gives you a role, and you will be able to see our movie night suggestions channel, where you can go in there and suggest movies that you want to watch. Right now, DH has opened up a voting poll where you can vote on which one of the movies we want to see. And right now I checked it just before the stream went live.
Don't say who's winning yet. Don't influence the vote at all. I want people to vote.
But I'm going to say that 50% of the votes, I think I know what we're going to watch, unless a bunch of votes come in.
Well, that's why it's a good time if you want to change the vote. If you want to rock that vote and make it a different movie, now's the time. There's still a slim chance. So get in there and put your vote in. And if not, like, you know, we're going to eliminate the movies as we watch them. So next time we do it, within 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, there'll be one less movie on the list. We'll probably add some new ones too, of course. So vote for your favorite movie that you want to watch this coming Saturday, but only if you plan on being there. Don't vote unless you're going to come. If you're not going to come, or you just know, fuck this shit, I'm never going to watch a movie with Thorne and friends, then no. But if you think you'll be there, go vote. Nicki showed up last time. We had a good time. What did we watch? We watched Return of the Living Dead. No, Return of the Living Dead, right? Yeah, Return of the Living Dead. Was that it? Return of the Living Dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I always get the names fucked up. Fucking twisted ass movie. Good shit. So we watched some good stuff. So check out the movies in there. So we're going to talk about greed, but before we do, Flesh, I think that's a really good segue into a buy our crap segment, don't you guys think? I mean, what do you think, Nicki? Is this a good buy our crap and come check out our stuff?
The sin.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I'll let Nicki go first since you're our guest, Nicki. If people want to buy your crap, or what kind of crap do you sell, or how can they get a hold of you, or whatever, everything you do, whatever you want to share, the stream's the limit.
Right now, I'm really focused on getting 2,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I believe I'm around only 20 away from that. So if everyone watching who hasn't subscribes, that'd be amazing to my crappy YouTube channel. If you like ASMR, and go for it.
ASMR like really hit. Like ASMR became I like binaural beats. Like to me, like that's my ASMR. I find like a good binaural and I'm just like wow, wow, wow. But I just go away places. So I mean, yeah, ASMR works for people, dude. It doesn't do much for me, but I get it. Like I get it why people would like it. Like I think the only one that kind of got me was this person reading a book, and they had like a cave effect, and they were whispering it like they were right in your ear, like, and then the such and so. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that is kind of nice. Like, let me listen to this book for a little while. It's kind of nice, but it didn't give me tingles or shivers like people talk about. So I don't know much about it.
Oh yeah, and my channel's name is
Necro
Nicki. So if you see it in the title, that's exactly how it's spelled.
It sounds like Camilla might have got her computer working again, so I'm just going to jump in. Flesh, in a few minutes, we'll have Camilla jump in. I just want to finish the buy our crap section. As soon as we're done with that, if her thing's working, we'll pull her right in. I don't know if she's going to video or audio or what, because we're having a problem, but it sounds like she's going to do it. So, yes, cool. It means we don't have to return a computer. I hate that. Sorry, go ahead, Nicki. Keep talking about what you're doing. So you're trying to get your channel up to 2,000 subs, which is a great milestone. Really freaking awesome. All she needs is 20. I'm sure we got 20 people in here that don't know Necro Nicki. Please go to her channel and give her a sub. So what else? Let's say people want to support your work, or do you have a Patreon? Do you have other things you do? Do you offer ritual services? Anything. Just lay it on us, whatever you got.
Yeah, that's my main focus right now. And also, I have an Instagram, which is Necro Nicki as well. Okay. And pretty much I'm just focusing on building my following. I have a wish list on my description if someone wants to buy me something random.
I think that's a good idea, though. Yeah, instead of buying her crap, buy her some crap, right? Put some of my stuff on your wish list, by the way, if you don't mind. We can spread the love around. That's actually a great idea. So everybody who's a professional in the community, quote unquote, we should all have like a wish list like that and put some crap from, like Jen. Is Jen here? Jen, I want some of your stuff on my wish list. Give me like some products that I want, and I'll put them on my wish list.
That's funny. Yeah, because I actually have a bunch of her stuff on my wish list, and then someone got me 3 of her things from my wish list this past week. So, yeah, and then, yeah, I kind of have a bunch of occult books and everything on there.
We do need to get Jen back on again, speaking of which. But, yeah, no, that's good. And you bought my books recently, and you were so nice to give me a shout-out over them, too. So, and I know you read Shadownomicon first, but you started work. Did you work on the other ones yet? Did you read any of the other 2 yet?
Right now, I'm reading the Sabeti by Michael Ford. But
Okay.
as soon as I'm done with that, I want to read your vampire
Okay,
handbook.
good. You'll probably like Become the Maelstrom too, but that's more of like, I caution people when I say it's a beginner's book because there's a lot in there that's very advanced, but I lay the trap, so to speak. I lay the trap for the advanced stuff with beginner stuff. And I really need to work on some second editions and third editions and stuff. And what I'm going to do, guys, and I want you guys, if you guys love me, if you love me with a capital L and a lowercase w or whatever the hell, I want to, LUWB, that's how I'm saying. Anyway, if you love me, I'm going to be doing at some point, people talk me into it, I'm going to do a GoFundMe I just have to find the right publisher, and I'm going to get a better editor and stuff to edit the things over again, and I'm going to get a more professional version of all of my books released one after the other, and I'm going to need a GoFundMe to do it though, because most publishers require a minimum buy-in to start, so they want like 100 books right off the bat, something like that, and that could be a drop of like a couple of thousand to get it going. So I might do a GoFundMe sometime this year for that, and if I do, watch this space. I'm putting it on the agenda board, and we'll see if I get to it this year. I'd like to do it, so hopefully you guys are into that. But yeah, go ahead.
So somebody was requesting it in chat, and Nicki, I don't know if you want to join me on this. We'll make a DH cringe right now and show the people what ASMR is. ASMR is.
Hey, yeah, no, take it away, Flash, because aren't you an ASMRist?
He is an ASMRist, yes. No.
That channel where I posted videos, nobody will find anymore. I took it down, but yeah, they specifically asking for moist ASMR.
Ooh.
It's yeah.
Jen, thank you for the suggestion. I'm just going to jump in. Jen, thank you for the suggestion for Kickstarter over GoFundMe. I never thought of that. Thank you for that.
Moist? That sounds like mouse sounds.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be doing, I have some slime that I got. I don't know, that's pretty moist. I'm actually going to be doing a slime video soon.
Slime.
Where I'm just playing with it and making sounds. And then I have styrofoam balls that I'm going to add to the slime to get it all nice and crunchy.
The slime ones I can never take seriously because, like, it sounds nice up until the moment it starts farting.
Yeah.
That's just, like, ripped out of the experience. Like, fuck.
Which happens usually 30 seconds in. It's crazy because there's, like, huge slime channels that are dedicated to it. So I'm pretty much trying something different. And I want to do actually some Goetia ASMR videos.
That'd be cool.
My Lucifer one did really good. And then, but yeah, I'm kind of thinking I want to do that because I haven't seen anyone else really incorporate some of the demons.
It's a good idea. I mean, that's why I like doing the demons as binaurals. In fact, I just did, for those of you who like chants and binaurals, I just did a redo of my Lucifer one that to me is like a fucking rocket ship. It's even better than the original in a lot of ways. So, but only if you like those Buddhist style chants where it's way more like rhythmic. And I think it was really good. Like to me, whenever I listen to that, like Lucifer shows up pretty much right away, and I'm like, and we'd have a conversation. So it's pretty good shit. All right, so since we're about halfway through the stream, we're going to be taking one of our first callers in a minute. For those of you who are here and you don't hate me and you don't hate my guts, if you want to support my work, go into the description of this video, or usually someone posts the link in a minute to my link tree. I have 3 books. That's the main source of how I like to reach out to people, are my books. But if you already have my books, make sure you go down the list. I have Patreon, where I actually have a group class that I conduct every Monday, and it's a lot more serious. This is like a magical frat party, guys. My actual class is way more, I'm not going to say boring or anything, but it's way more just kind of even and balanced, and we talk about very high-level stuff, but I get you started. It's a literal class in magic. We started off with the root chakra. We're working our way up through everything. It's pretty comprehensive. I think if Tatum's still here, she joins in. She's been having a really good time with it. And if you can't make the class schedule, every class is recorded, and you can watch them at your leisure later and ask questions next week if you can make it, or you can put them in chat. The class is only $20 a month. You're never going to find an offer like that anywhere, except for some people offer it for free, I guess. But you're never going to find an offer like that for free where you get not one-on-one, but you get time with me. We have conversations, you ask questions, and I work with you guys. Now, eventually, these videos, since I do record them, eventually will get turned into probably, like video training courses and stuff like that. But for now, this is the way I want to do it. I like the idea for an affordable fee. So it's really about getting a volume of people that want to do it. It's not about, because some guys are going to charge you, I don't know, $1,000 a month or something crazy for the kind of stuff you're getting from me for this. So I feel like $20 a month is really, really reasonable. Even if you can't attend, we're talking a 2-hour class every Monday that's really doing well. We have about 18 or 19 people right now at this moment. And it's working really good. It's working really good, and people are enjoying it, and they're getting a lot of growth already. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, if you also want ritual service or consult with me, you can go to my website, which is linked in that link tree. I think it's D.H. Thorne's website. I do have a URL. It's www.mindtheshadows.com, but it acts like it's an unsafe domain because I don't have the certificates that go with it, because I switched web hosts and it got all screwed up. So until I get that figured out, I'm using it, but I'm not promoting it. So if you do use www.mindtheshadows.com, it's probably going to give you a pain in the ass. Just click OK and go to it anyway. But I have the actual link that's there now you can use, so it's a little bit better. We have an Etsy store, which my wife and I stock up as often as we can. I actually have a new product that's done. I finally finished it, and I haven't gotten around to putting it up yet. But I do these painted skulls that people can use in rituals, and they're pretty cool. So those will be up. We have really cool mirrors that my wife makes. They're a design I came up with for Shadownomicon. They really do well for scrying. They're black mirrors. They're really well decorated. They have some really cool shit going on with them. So if you're interested in that, that would be a good thing. So the final thing I would say would be my Teespring. And if you think you want to have tapestries like this, I have a Lucifer tapestry. I have a bunch of stuff. Just go to the Teespring link for that. So now that I have been selling my ass off for the last few minutes to try to fund this operation, you can, of course, also do super chats if you want me to see your questions and I'm missing you, or if you have problems. Speaking of which, Donovan asked, hey DH, Thorne, serious question. How did you start working with Legion? By Shadownomicon. That's, I'm not trying to be greedy. It's just that's a whole, look up in my video list, look up any videos have to do with the Shadow People and Legion. I have a video about Legion. That should give you the seed. But Shadownomicon is, if you want to work with Legion, that's the way I'm going to tell you to do it. And, that's that. So check it out.
And I can concur on that, because when I got Shadownomicon, I didn't know who Legion was, and I found out real quick.
Did you get a connection with Legion, or did you, I don't know if you did the rituals or not, but you kind of don't have to. You're one of those people that already had kind of shadow experience already. So for you, it was kind of
yeah,
you almost didn't need that.
Yeah, no, I didn't do the rituals. I read through them, though. But when you read a book and it just kind of opens gateways and unlocks things just by reading the text, I had that. And I had some just really chaotic shadow experiences. And after it all, I channeled, what was this about? And I got Legion. And so, yeah, you definitely, I encourage you guys, if you want to do the rituals, do them. Even reading it, you're going to get a really strong connection with Legion.
I will also say that the communion ritual format that I got from working with them is usable with any other spiritual force you want to use it with. It's essentially a way to set up your ritual space as, we'll say, an intermediary area in your awareness, almost like a foyer or a neutral territory that you and spirits can commune. It's a really good ritual format. I've used it. You guys notice I have a curtain here. Now, I don't have the space to set up the full circle like I described, but I do something very similar, and I will sit and gaze at something here or on my altar, setting up a ritual space in this small area the way I have it. So check it out. It's a really good ritual format, and it works for a lot of people. So I think I've sold my ass off flesh. I think I sold out everything that I have. I'm kind of tired, so maybe we need some new blood in the conversation before we talk about Greece.
The first guest.
All right, let's bring in the first guest. Hopefully, it's who I think it is. Join us. Join us.
Oh, hey, visual trigger ASMR.
Yes,
there we
visual
go.
triggers. Make your eyeballs wiggle.
Yeah.
So somebody is saying that this channel needs a fleshy, moist daddy ASMR.
Could be.
Yeah. You say the word, and I'll make that video.
A fleshy one. So I don't. Hopefully our technical errors are done. I don't know if the summoning's working. Is the summoning working?
This person I know has two different. Oh, here we go.
There we go. We got it to work. Woo! In fact,
video
if you
went
look
screwy for a second,
behind,
but it worked.
if you look behind that person, let me get them on screen now that I got my piece of shit working. Fucking thing. Whoever updated whatever they updated needs to go ride a fucking giant you know what somewhere that's not supposed to go, because they fucked up everything. All right, hold on. There she is. Oh, she's got it all blurred out. You got the backdrop blurred
I
out.
have the background blur again.
That's fine, but I just don't know if you know.
How do you do that?
It's on your settings. There it is.
It's like for some reason every time.
Yeah, that tapestry is one I sell too. So if you're interested, that's also what I have. Anyway,
Just so you know, I am on my phone, so it can only like receive audio or give audio. For some reason, it can't do both at the same time, so I might cut out if I'm talking and I get stuff pumped through the speaker as well. So
yeah. Any chance you could close the bedroom door because you're coming through like it's like I think it's making it louder somehow. Like you're in the other room, but the door. There we go. That'll be better. Okay, cool. So okay.
Damn door.
For those who don't know, that is the illustrious wife that I call my own, Miss T. Camilla Thorne, and we were having some frustrating problems with a new laptop that I'm gonna have to look at and see if we can figure it out because I don't want to return it. It's a nice toy. It's not expensive.
Cheap, so it's understandable.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I got it for work, so it's not like a high-end gaming laptop. It's just a fucking office thing.
Yeah, I think we'll get it figured out, and it might just be we have to use like you and I'll have to sit and figure it out because we kind of last minuted this tonight. We kind of like had a late dinner and like you ran out into the shop to like join us, and I was like fuck, and then I had technical difficulties, and so you were like fuck this, I'm just gonna watch and we'll figure it out tomorrow. I'm like okay, so
the speaker, the headphones aren't charged, you know the gamut.
Yeah, like all the Knights of Technical Difficulty are D&D club name.
It's a professional operation.
Professional operation.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So since we haven't quite hit greed yet, Mistress Thorne, would you mind? Do you have any mirrors there to show, just so people can see what we're talking about?
Well, I have my prototype.
Nice. Yes.
It's kind of, I'm kind of in the dark, so it's hard to see a black mirror. But I'm in the process of working on a mega mirror for personal use, for us, for our house, and eventually I'm going to make one to sell, and that will, I hate to say how much I'm going to charge for this thing because it just seems like a lot of money, but it's a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of shit being thrown into it. It's probably going to be upwards of $500.
Right. I wonder if that'll, because I'm realizing that Etsy, things over like 100 or 2 just don't sell. Like, I've got my clubs, I'm probably going to end up reducing the price some point if they don't sell in the next month or so, because they're just not going, but I got a lot of people putting hearts on them and nobody wants them, so it's like really weird. So I think it's because they're like more than 200. I think that's what's doing it.
They're keeping their eye on it, and
Yeah.
A lot of times people will save up for it too.
That too. Yeah, it's a big chunk of change, right? Like nobody, like I wouldn't do it. Like I'd be like, I'll just make my own. Right?
Financing too. So
Sure. So, well, anyway, I think we're going to talk about the very next, which is greed. So let us. Who wants to start the conversation about greed? Since I forget who suggested it, but I think we just decided it. Who was it
This one
suggested
actually
it?
came from chat.
Oh, it did. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So since chat isn't in the conversation because they are beneath us, we love you guys. We're just kidding. Flesh Priest, you are basically the voice of the chat. Did you see any comments about greed, or do you have any comments about greed before I go on to the other panelists?
No, actually, I found the this one actually came from Tatum. So Tatum,
Okay.
if you have anything, sound off. Yeah,
Tatum's
I
cool.
mean,
She's one of the students in the class. She actually does very well. She has some really cool experiences and things to talk about. So we like Tatum. Tatum, if you got anything to add, go for it. Otherwise, I think we're going to turn it. Flushy, do you have anything about greed that you'd like to say?
I think to get it started, just with what we're going on, greed obviously can become a very, very all-encompassing thing that can go very badly. But at the same time, we need to be greedy for ourselves, if nothing else. Sometimes we need to embrace that, because if you're not going to be, you need to be needy for yourself. You need to be able to set boundaries and say, no, I need this personal time. I need this, whatever it is in my life right now. I'm going to be greedy and fuck everyone else. This is mine.
True. Yeah. So greed's actually one of those ones where, well, I'll get to that in a minute. I want to go around the mulberry bush first. Who wants to answer next? Who wants to have the next opinion about greed before I act like a thorny asshole and just start talking my dick off? Who wants to go
you know
next?
what? Really quick, Tatum actually responded.
Okay.
She said, greed fed the need for the invention, even if it's a pet rock.
True, right? Greed is a great source of invention, absolutely. The mother of many inventions has been greed, but we can actually probably pare it down. We can go further even than that, but let's go. I don't care who goes next. Let's have a fight. Who's going to answer the question next?
Do you want to go, Camilla?
No, I'm good. I'll wait.
See, I knew that was coming because, like, this is a thing, and please don't crucify me, Lilith, for saying this. It's a very female thing to be like, would you like to go first? No, you. No, you. No, you. No, you. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want?
She's the wife, so it's a respect thing.
No, I know. You're all being sweet. It's cool. Nicki, go ahead.
If it was some other girl, I'd be like, me. I like going first.
Okay.
So I'll go. Yeah, so I was recently doing some meditation work with the deity Suhur Masu.
Okay.
Who's
I've never heard of
also
that.
known as Capricornus. So he's the sea goat. And so, you know how he has the goat aspect and then the fish aspect. You know, so during my meditation with him, actually, he was showing me that I needed to balance this reality with the subconscious, with more spirituality. And so I was having a lot of lucid dreams with him, which is really interesting. And I was having dreams that I was at the beach. And what kept happening at the beach is there'd be a huge storm and a huge wave, and it just go and just crash. So just all my stuff, you know, my phone, my purse would get lost. I couldn't find, you know, my friends and my family. And I had this reoccurring dream 2 days in a row. And then I remember asking, okay, what's up with this? Because I'm starting to learn that a lot of stuff that I'm dreaming about, and he showed me this, is either stuff I need to fix with either people from past lives or in current situations. And because my stuff kept being washed up, and I was more concerned with my objects than where my friends and family were in the dream. So part of my lesson was that I was too attached to materialistic things, and in order to get more in balance with this realm and my subconscious, I needed to, you know, just lay back a little bit on the materialism. And yeah, I have. It's helped.
So is materialism, so I'm going to in a second let Camilla say something, but I just want to ask a question before we actually get into it more. Is materialism the problem, or is there something underlining that? Like, I just want to put that out there before we talk about it. So is it really materialism, or is there something underneath that even? Can we go a layer deeper and maybe get to the core of the problem? So, all right. So yeah, you found this, and so you're working with, what's the name of the spirit again? I've never heard of it.
Suhur Masu.
Okay. So and there's a lot, if we look, there's a lot of demons associated with greed, right? You know, so like we'll talk a little bit about that. So Miss Camilla, do you have anything to say, any opinion at all about this subject?
Well, the interesting thing about sins and all that, I don't know if it's been said because I missed parts of the stream, but it's interesting that how many of them can go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're envious of someone and you're greedy, you know. I mean, they could go hand in hand, you know.
Sure. It's almost like they have like they're almost like Russian nesting dolls, right? You get pride, and that like contains all of them, and then like some of them contain each other.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, like, you know, wrath, it's in there too.
Right.
Along with greed, you know, you could see where they intermingle. I mean, personally, I'm not very much a greedy person myself, so you know, it's hard for me to connect to that.
Mm-hmm.
In a way.
Yeah, like I can't imagine like pushing over a little old lady to get the last, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't imagine being greedy like that, right?
No,
I mean, I get it, but
envious, yes,
I can teach you.
I can teach you. Oh, Flesh, is that your demon? Is it greed? I never knew that.
Fuck those old ladies. They've had plenty of time on this earth to get the last loaf of bread.
Damn.
That's my bread. The bread is for the young.
Spoken like a true millennial, by the way, everybody. That's exactly millennials and your sense of entitlement, motherfucker.
I agree in a sense. Fuck the old ladies, but it's not from a greed standpoint.
Whoa, that sounds sexual, fucking the old ladies. Woo!
No.
You are a G-MILF. Do you know what that means?
I think hags are hot. I've had a succubus hag. You know, like in The Shining?
Oh, Lord Jesus, no.
That's my favorite movie.
Line is right there. I go, nope, you got this, dude. If that gets you Harley Davidson, then go for it. I'm not going to watch. You can have the whole room by yourself.
What's funny is I've only had one succubus, really, and it was a hag.
Wow, really?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get to Lust in a few minutes, because I'm actually Lust is one that everyone's going to enjoy, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But that's a spooky shit, baby. That's a spooky shit.
Yeah, you can take the hag from The Shining. I personally want the bespoke gentleman with the dog-suited individual. I'll take that.
You do got that furry thing going on there, brother. Yeah.
I like the sense of mystery.
Well, it ain't going to be a mystery for long when you get in the room. But, yeah, so anything else, I guess, yeah, because you're not really into, like, greedy stuff. But,
No.
you know, like, that's an interesting point. Like, I'm glad you brought it up. Like, they kind of nest within each other. You know, like, that's an interesting thing to note, because the original lore says pride, of course, is the root of all sins, right? Of all the sins that we're talking about. But it also goes to follow that you could probably, if you were, you know, I haven't done this yet, I haven't really tried, but you could probably take, you know, pride, and then what would be the next one after pride? Maybe envy, you know, maybe envy would be the next one. And then envy could lead to like greed and lust, but especially greed. You know, greed, gluttony, and lust could definitely be like a product of envy. And sloth is where you end up, like you're just fucking lazy and disgusting after you've fulfilled all this shit. And wrath is what happens when you don't get these things fulfilled, you know? So they all kind of like blossom out of each other somehow. Like they definitely. And then when you do succeed in them, let's say you satisfy your envy, your pride goes up. Let's say you do satisfy your lust, your pride goes up. Like they all self-reinforce each other. So that's interesting. All right, so greed in particular, the spirit that is most, though not the only one, I'm sure all of us would say, but in the original lore, it may be, I don't know, I don't have the full list of like all the ones like Wikipedia had. I can't find the Wikipedia article that had it. But Maimon is the one that I'm seeing right now, and it's one I remember as the archdemon of greed. And Maimon, a lot of you know, Maimon's a spirit you'd contact if you're trying to get money and everything to do with money. But you could also go with like King Person, you go with King Paimon to a degree. So it's not the only one, but that's by any stretch. But it's like the crown prince of greed is Maimon. And you know, I think that greed is one of those things that actually is it's a shadow in disguise. Like all of these have a shadow behind them, right? Pride is usually a sense of inferiority that makes us have pride. Not always, but often. Greed is often caused by a fear of doing without, like a fear of insufficiency causes greed. And it manifests as like a neurotic like must have. It's like deeply rooted somewhere, and it's not even conscious anymore that you're like, oh, I don't like, because you know you got billions and billions of dollars, right? So why do you need another billion? I even, as a relatively not rich person, you know, we're definitely like lower income. You know, we have a decent savings because we did well the last couple of years because we busted our ass having 2 jobs and everything. You know, I had this plus my day job, and I saved up everything I made. I look at that little bit of savings that we got, you know, that I want to eventually use for something, and I'm loath to spend it even on something that I'm saving up for. Like, I look at that and I'm like, I don't want to get rid of that. I feel like if I spend that, like, oh shit, that means I'm not as, like, I'm that much money away, like I'm that much less money away from being impoverished again, where I can't go without for a couple of weeks or something. You know, like we were living paycheck to paycheck. Go ahead.
I mean, we need a new washing machine.
Yep.
It still works, but it fucking sounds like a rock metal concert in our in our bedroom because it's thump 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 all night. You know, I mean, we do need a new one, but do we want to spend it?
Second, I thought we were about to fight on live television. I'm kidding. No, you're right, and we were both, but especially me. I'm looking at that like, you're like, oh, we could get this one for like $600-700. I'm like, yeah, but
Closet.
And I'm not normally a cheap person, you know that. Like, I'm not like, oh, I don't want to spend money. I'm usually just like, yeah, we can spend it, we can do that. We can, you know, like I like stuff, right? I'm not an anti-stuff person. So like, it's actually this, but it manifests as greed. I find myself, how do I make more money? How do I make sure I don't run out of money? How do I hoard this more? And that's kind of like, it comes from maybe a place of insecurity, I think, personally. Most greed comes from a place of insecurity, and your you know, your root chakra is out of balance, right? That's kind of like what it means. You don't feel secure, so you just want all that money. You want all that paper, all them monies. You want to have them. But it's not just about monies and paper. It's also, you know, you can be greedy when it comes to a lot of things, right? Attention, right? You can be greedy about that. And so maybe if we were going to say envy was next, but we won't have to. If envy was next, maybe envy is actually at the mercy of greed, because envy is a sense of inadequacy that turns into a desire for what others have, jealousy, right?
Like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. Exactly. Like, I'm so, like, oh, I feel entitled to what other people have. Oh, woe is me. I can't do that. I'm not that. I want to have that. But I mean, go ahead.
You were talking about chakras, and I just want to get this out before I forget it. Envy, I believe, is the throat chakra.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it definitely, you know, it's a communicative thing. But I don't know if I would go that far. I think, you know, a lot of these, especially we're talking about it might be the heart chakra. Honestly, I think it's the heart chakra. If I had to say for sure, like the root to me would be probably greed, and you know, because they're not all, you know, you can't say that they're all over the place. You can't say pride's in the crown, although it could be. You know, they can manifest through all of them, but envy is more in the heart, because if you don't love yourself, then you have envy. If you have self, you know, inadequacies, that's where it's coming from. Greed is a sense of insecurity in terms of, you know, material things. That sounds like root to me. You know, lust would be your sacral. Sloth would be your solar plexus, right? But it could also be, you know, but gluttony fits in there too, because gluttony is a kind of greed in a way, right? But we'll get into that. So what about greed could be a good thing? So we already said, Flesh already pointed out a little bit, hey, if I'm being just the right kind of greedy, I can make sure I'm whatever, have money or whatever, comforts, whatever. So is there a highlight to greed? We're gonna have to start running through these quicker, I think, by the way, because we're running long. What would be like a highlight of greed? Greed's a hard one, isn't it?
You were saying with the bleed over, is that differentiating it and envy, there's a lot of overlap there, I think.
Yep. True. I think there is, you know. I think, you know, if I was going to say the benefit of greed is that when you don't let it control you, and it's an integrated shadow, then greed will give you the means to do things that maybe are more compassionate, if that's your true hope in life. So it doesn't always have to have a negative. I mean, your greed can turn into prosperity for others, because if you're really greedy, you create a business that a lot of people are going to work for, right? So like whatever greed I have that makes me do this has created the start of something that, occasionally you get paid for because I get enough in the super chats. Nicki makes a little bit more. She gets subs because of. Camilla has mirrors that she can sell. And because I have a greed there where I want to make a living on this, right? And it's a little on the greedy side because I do want, I want to prosper enough that I'm comfortable. I'm not looking for a Maserati, guys. I'd be happy with just a car that doesn't have holes in it. But, that little bit of greed it compels you to work and to sing for your supper. And if you do it right, you actually create more prosperity than you consume, potentially, right? So if you balance your greed with kind of like an ecological worldview where you say, look, I can't, like think of Henry Ford, right? Henry Ford said, I got to pay my workers well so they can afford my car, right? That was kind of like what his thought process was. So mine is, if I do well, then I know I'm doing well because the people around me are doing well. And if people around me are doing well, they can afford to do well by me, and it feeds itself, right? And it becomes a self-feeding fire, if you will. So maybe that's an example. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you guys think that greed has a good side. Maybe it doesn't. But Anya says ambition, or ajna. I don't. Some people like to say it like in a more Sanskrit way. I'm going to say ajna because I think that's how most people would recognize it. It says ambition. Yeah, I think. Yeah, Matthew King says motivation, basically the same thing. Very similar anyway. Yeah, cool. All right. So, Fleshy, yes, speak.
And yeah, on that note, I do think greed is good, because I think actually Eddie made a comment really early on in this stream where he was talking about how the 7 deadly sins actually led him out of his problems and his depression and everything, and he was listing down what each one of those helped him accomplish. And I believe he actually said that greed was the thing that gave him ambition to try to reach for more and not just accept how, the position that he was in.
True. And like I said, I think that can transmute if integrated into prosperity for more. Like Maimon is greedy, so you go to Maimon for wealth, right? Like that's interesting how that works. So yeah. So okay, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Whoever wants to jump on it, what do you want the next sin to be? Whoever wants to jump. Just ready? 1, 2, 3, everybody. All right, fuck all y'all. I can see why we don't play basketball. The ball would just tap down right in front of us.
Which ones have we covered so far? We've covered greed, we've covered wrath, we've
pride.
Covered, what were the other ones?
Just pride. We've only gone through 3. We got 4 more to go.
Okay,
we got to
so
rapid fire them soon.
Okay, fuck it. Lust is the next one that I know.
Lusticles, testicles, breasticles. Let's hear it. Let's talk about it. Now, lust doesn't have to just be sex, dorks. It doesn't just have to be... It can be a lot of things you can lust after. Let's talk a little bit about lust. Again, I'm going to shut up till you've all had a say. Let's hear about lust. Who wants to talk about it? Come on, guys.
Talk about it.
Me? No, because I'm going to be the tail gunner that acts like a dick, like he knows what he's talking about. I want to hear what you guys have to say. That way I can feed off of your wisdom and then act like it's mine.
Lust is human emotion. You must love one another. Do not put your love for one another on hold. You must go out and you must spread love with other people. Human emotion.
That's the heart chakra. That ain't lust. Lust has nothing to do with that, man.
That's my bad Tommy Wiseau impression for the night.
Okay, that was pretty bad.
I'm biased. I'm not gonna say anything bad about lust.
So let's define lust first then. Let's really give lust a definition so that we can know what we're talking about. So the spirit that we're talking about, there's a couple. I actually like using Lilith for lust, but Asmodee is equally just as good. I don't like all spirits being masculine. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's a holdover from the Christian side and from a lot of other things, but we will say it's mostly referred to as Asmodee, but I love Lilith in the lust position. It just fits. And let's not forget, those of you who ever watched Full Metal Alchemist, they did a banging job of representing all the fucking 7 deadly sins, by the way. I mean, that was basically the 7 archdemons of hell. I mean, they did a great job. So so lust as a definition. So lust would be...
Merriam-Webster describes it as unusually intense or unbridled sexual desire, an intense longing, or enthusiasm and eagerness.
I think what makes it a sin, rather than just, oh, I have desire, is that lust is sin that's become self-destructive. Remember we were talking about earlier, I was making fun of people like that? People who just can't fucking keep their libido down and in control. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy that stuff. That's actually the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying if you enjoy it properly, it doesn't have control over you. Like, if you withhold it long enough, it becomes a shadow, and you can't help but like, oh, I want to screw that person, or I want to. So lust and gluttony actually go hand in hand, don't they? Like, lust and gluttony feed off each other, because lust is the desire and gluttony is the consumption, right? So you could actually be a glutton of sex, or you could be lustful for sex. You could lust after it. So lusting is a sense of need fulfillment, but it's not a need, it's desire fulfillment. I want that. Ooh, I want that. I really wanted, I had no money, but I fucking bought this anyway. I wanted it. So beautiful, this beautiful crystal. Oh, I had to have it. Right? That's a lust.
Going back to the whole Full Metal Alchemist, it was always lust and gluttony paired together.
True. That's true. I didn't think of that. Yeah, good point. Good point.
And often with them too, but it was very often lust with gluttony.
Well, I would say that when you satisfy gluttony, finally he becomes slothy, right? Like when all your lusts are fulfilled, it's gluttony. When all your gluttony is fulfilled, you become sloth, like right? So that's one way to look at it. So all right, so let's go around with our panel. Since you kind of chimed in, Miss Camilla, do you have anything to say about lust? Shall we talk about lust? Should we talk about?
I need an adult.
Is there an adult in the room?
I mean, I was, but I turned that card in. I said, fuck it.
You turned that card in. You burned that card.
I burned that fucking thing like my bra.
Well, I mean, this can go away. There's positives and negatives to it, like you were saying. You got a moderation, and all that.
Yeah. I mean, AKA Morningstar just said, lust is healthy to the mind, and it becomes a problem if one cannot control the action that results from it. Basically, I'm just going to fill in the blank. Control the action. So, in a way, if we follow the chakra system again, you can say, what happens if our solar plexus is out of alignment or overactive? We just want everything. We want sensations. We want sex. We want food. We want this. Want. When we give in to the desires, though, then it becomes gluttony and it becomes another thing. And then it's like the solar plexus takes over. It turns into action. So lust would be like, you can't get a desire out of your head to the point of making you crazy. Like that to me is lust. So a lot of people equate lust and sex, because what motivates the average idiot more than uncontrollable, like lusty sexual thoughts that makes them do stupid things, right? Not that sex is bad, but it's one of the weaknesses of the human condition is our hormones go, stick it in, let me stick it in. And we all want to shoot DNA at each other all day long. It's ridiculous. You're all nuts. Fucking humans in your DNA. So, I don't know.
It's different when that, trust me.
Fleshy, one of the reasons why we call you Flesh Priest is because you have a very, we'll say, mostly integrated relationship with lust and sex. You have kinks, but they're very integrated. You're not like, I don't see you like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like if we pan the camera 2 inches to the left, there's some poor soul chained up to the wall with a dildo shoved in each ear and one up their ass and screaming for mercy, and we just have them muted right now. I don't know. Maybe you haven't. But I would think, just from the way you approach these things, you have a pretty well integrated lust demon.
I mean, I didn't think that was the reason why we called me Flesh Priest, but I like to think so.
I know it's not why, but it's why I do.
Oh, here comes the flesh thorn. I'm
making people uncomfortable now. We're talking about lust, and everybody's clamming up all of a sudden, pun intended.
I mean, I'm comfortable with myself. I don't know what's... You're not wrong? What's the question?
If you have any more input on the subject of lust. Wow, everyone's just like, I thought I'd be the tongue-tied one. Wyatt says, flesh, you better not be a foot guy.
He seems well versed, well experienced, flesh priestess.
I appreciate that.
Or experimental, just with what you're seeing.
I mean, I think you've done things I could only imagine.
I'll have you know, I've explored the dark arts of missionary. Yeah, not to brag or anything.
Magic in the butt. What?
Maybe that's why Flesh seems like he's so integrated with it, because he's really like kind of like, what's the word? Not prude, but like just totally like, I don't know if we should do. You sure you want to like bend that way? It sounds kind of a little too kinky. Like, watch, he's like almost prude, like in actuality. Watch.
That's
called reverse psychology.
Hey, if you want to find out, then, well, give me your address.
Whoa! Let me get my club. Let me get my beater.
What are you planning on doing with that, Thorne Daddy?
Okay, well, I'm starting to turn a little red, but you can't tell because it's dark. Okay, let's go to Necro Nicki. Maybe she'll have something to say. Necro, what do you think of the subject of lust and demons of lust and this and that? Like, what demon especially do you associate with lust? Which one would you say is the one?
I would say ultimately Asmodeus.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the only demon actually that fully possessed me without me invoking him.
Okay.
I just remember, having a lustful, type of day, and I was in full possession, and I just, okay, who's possessing me right now, and it was him, and that was really trippy, because I know earlier you mentioned how, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but to me he just seems really powerful, and if, he's got that big D energy, and if he, wants to show up and wants his attention, then that's what's gonna happen.
And he certainly wants you to think that because of his jealousy side. He certainly wants you to think like, I'm the pimp extraordinaire, most sexy fucking thing ever. You know what I think might be possible? Maybe because Asmodeus has that history too. If you look up, the nuns of I can't remember the name of the monastery, but one of the legends attached to him is that he basically possessed a bunch of nuns to do sexual things, and of course, it turns out that it was much of a lie. It was like a witch hunt bullshit thing. I can't remember.
Did they make a movie about that?
Yes, they did. If I remember correctly, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the guy who actually was behind it, even he ended up getting basically reamed in the ass by a pointy thing. We'll say, look up Asmodee and give me a second to Google it because I have no memory for names. Asmodee nuns. The Loudun possessions. That's right. Loudun. Loudun possessions. Look that story up and get back to us next month. It's a pretty wicked story. Especially the aftermath is the guy who was behind a lot of this. Even he ends up being wrathfully served justice, we'll say. So it's very interesting. Pretty cool. But what I was going to say was, maybe to some people, lust is going to appear as Lilith because that's what they're into, and for other people maybe it's Asmodee because that's what they're into, or maybe it's because that's who they want to be like, right? So that could be it too. Like maybe that's their own version. I think of Lilith because I picture a lusty feminine thing, right? And you maybe picture Asmodee for a similar reason, but you like the masculine side, or maybe we like to take on those aspects in stuff. Maybe I like to be seductive and more receptive to the lusty things, whereas maybe you like to be more assertive. I'm not trying to read, but just saying that could be part of the story. So I don't know. Tell us more about lust, maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Is there anything more to be said?
Yeah, I think there's different types of lust too. For power, I feel I just that word just seems sort of tainted. I feel as though there are good aspects of lust. Having desire, having that passion, being able to satisfy your partner. We all have needs. So I do feel like it's good to have that lustful type of energy and you can apply it to other things. I just feel like that word just almost has that deep connotation of being sexual,
Sure does,
that's
yeah,
why I feel like we kind of gravitate towards, because then I'm like thinking desire. So I was thinking about the definition before Flesh read it out loud. That's what I was thinking, mainly sexual, but then a strong desire for something. Someone can lust for, a hot rod. It's almost it's not
Even what you just said kind of still sexual, right? I mean, that was like...
maybe you want to pose on the car or something, but
well, even the word lust, like, just let the word roll it. Lust. That just sounds like fuck me everywhere. Lust. It just sounds like a sound that happens in sex, right? Just lust. If you could hear that sound effect somehow, it would fit in the whole activities of sex somewhere. It really would. So, I mean, it is one of the prime evils of human experience, if you will, the primordial motivators of human beings. Like, let me be clear, as someone who's a skeptical, rational person and understands science very well, evolution, at least ever since sexual reproduction took over, for the most dominant species on the planet, fuck you. The urge to mate is the most powerful urge that human beings experience. It even overrides safety and food and sleep and drinking. Like, you could have somebody who's like on death's door, and if he, some hetero guy sitting there about to be electrocuted, what's the last thing he thinks? Man, I could really go for a cheeseburger and a piece of ass, right? It's just like it's like that's it, and our biology, the hormones are like hardwired to make that an unavoidable desire, unless you are just some wires twisted out of place, right? I mean, it's just not saying it's abnormal, but it's certainly not in the average person, right? I think that evolutionarily, gender and sexual desires and norms are malleable, because the evolution wants us to have. There's a reason people have LGBTQ perspectives and asexuality, because they do play a role in human success. But I do think that even that, we still have a lust for things. We still have a passion for things. We still, so lust, however, can also be, let's aim at the positives. What are some of the positives of lust, would you say?
Human emotion, sharing your love with another.
No. That could be a part of it, but no. You're wrong. Just wrong. Shut up. No, just kidding.
Oh, man.
For me, it's my profession, because I'm a cam model.
Okay, so there's that. I mean, that's definitely part of it. So that feeds into a greed angle a little bit too, doesn't it, in a way? Not quite, but a little bit, right? But what if you can lust after the pleasure of other people's enjoyment, right? Like, for me as a psi vampire, one of the things that really gets me going is when I see the other person enjoying themselves, or when I'm causing joy in them, when I feel a lust towards, like, I mean, you can ask people I play games with. I hang out in the back and I let them do the game first, and I like to I like to hear them scream because the monster's attacking them. I get off on them having experiences. I feed off of that. And the same thing applies to sex, especially with sex. I enjoy, the inhalation of their pleasure, if that makes sense. I like to just, you're having fun, right? And I'm doing it to you, right? Yeah, that feeds my pride too. Ooh, yeah. And that's when I'm feeling my best. When I'm feeling my worst with this shit is when it's just about masturbating with a body. Like, I really couldn't give a fuck about orgasms and all that stuff. It's great. When I say couldn't give a fuck, I mean, I choose the cheeseburger over the piece of ass pretty much every time, right? Like, that's like, I'm going to go for that first, probably most of the time. It's only when my other things are met, when I feel like my other needs are met, does that come into my focus, because to me it's like I could go run in and take care of that, like sneezing or blowing my nose. It's not like a big deal, right? So to engage in lust to me is like, take it or leave it. Not that big a drive for me, yeah, that's, so I don't know. Anybody, Nicki or anybody else, do you have anything else you want to add to the lust spectrum of conversation? What else should we say about it?
I'm a little fixated on your idea that lust sounds like something that would come out in the bedroom. Just lust.
Just a sound, yeah.
That doesn't sound like my sex sounds.
They're probably not wet and juicy enough, because you could just hear lust,
Yeah.
You gotta work on that flesh for your ASMR juicy daddy
Right?
video.
That's what I'm thinking. Like when you said, like I'm gonna be doing, like just hear, like it just sounds like a sound that would be happening in juicy slime land, man. It just sounds like that. It's a mouth sound. Lust, so lustful. It's a luscious word.
Yeah.
Lust.
It's crazy though. Some of the ASMR videos, I'm thinking, like the girls that are licking the ears. Have you seen that? Or they're wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even wearing a bra, and you could see their nipples. I'm just thinking, wow, how are they able to get away with that on YouTube?
I wouldn't know, or so my lawyers told me to say.
It's one of those things that I go back and forth on, because like I'm not a prude, and like it's a human fucking body. Like I don't give a shit, but at the same time, it's like I feel like you know what you're appealing to. Like you're getting them clicks.
True.
Like,
yeah. Look, go to
but, like,
Instagram. Go to
I'm just
Instagram.
wondering if I should
and
go there.
If Instagram has any idea of what you like, within a few uses of that, their algorithm figures you out, and like you can't look at the search button without it just being freaking anything that would like get you excited. If you've looked at even one picture, it's just like, oh come on, I know what's going to be next. Yep, tits and ass. Yep, cosplay. This, yeah, I know. Where's the sci-fi pictures that I'm only subscribed to? Only pretty much that. Why is it all the stuff that I'm not like freaking? And my wife's nodding her head. She's probably found that same experience, but maybe in reverse. I don't know. Like I'm not. I don't.
YouTube goes Facebook with its ads.
Right. Oh, YouTube's the worst, dude. Like I don't even know why, because I just look at YouTube and it'd be like that dink 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 and the boobs swinging around. I'm like, why? I wouldn't even buy that if you gave me the money for it, like just to do it. Like I wouldn't even. No, it's just stupid. So I don't know, man. It's. But they know that sex is the most compelling of these sins that most human beings deal with. Because everybody hides from all of them, but that one is staring them in the face all day long, and it's an easy one to get trapped in, man. It's really easy. So yeah.
So I've got a proposal. Since it
No.
sounds like we're about to move on to our next sin, do you want to get the next caller on and have them bring up the next sin?
Sure. So long as I'm going to put a hard limit on, because I have a feeling we're all getting tapped a little bit. I'm going to say, what do you guys say to a half hour? Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can do that.
All right. Because like we got a late start, so we're going to make it this way. We're still at 3 hours as a stream. So a half hour limit. Let's bring on our next caller. Do I need to video them up, or are they just going to be audio?
They've been on before, so like they can be on video for sure.
Okay, so I'll have to add another input. Let me watch. This is where we fucked the whole show.
Let me just get them queued up. Oh, you bastard.
Bastardo.
You know what the worst part? You were bringing up the like those ASM artists, is that some of them make really, really good content, but then I always have to like, my roommates always ask questions when we throw on YouTube on the, you know, the home TV, and they see like my most recently viewed. I'm like, it's, you know what? Fuck all y'all. I don't have to justify it.
Yeah, because I look at my YouTube analytics and sometimes it'll say 100% of your YouTubers are male. So I'm thinking, okay.
I
Or
mean,
95. And I know a lot of the ASMR still do the I'm your girlfriend role play.
Mm-hmm.
I still always want to have an occult kind of vibe, but I just always try and think of new ideas.
I mean,
Yeah,
what do they say? You got to either be first or different. So, you know, when it comes to anything to be a success, there's my Maimon talking to me. You know, you can't be like, I mean, there's always room for another one, but to really like rise to the top, you got to be different or first, and that's hard to get around. So,
Gotta carve that niche. And
we
everybody
have Ed Dysfunction here.
the great and powerful Dr. Eddie.
Woo!
Who
I might get the wrong
Actually-
person, so if somebody's jacking off in their background here, okay, we got him. We're gonna do a what was that show where they put all the kids? The Brady Bunch.
Brady
We're gonna do a Brady Bunch. And that's the way Eddie became one of Thorne's bunch. Ba-dam, ba-dam, bam, bam.
So does this make me the Paul Lind of our Hollywood squares?
Who is Paul Lind? That might help me to get the joke.
Oh man. Okay, I'll be the Charles Nelson Riley of our match game.
All right. See,
That
you
better.
know way too much pop
Yeah.
culture stuff. I'm just gonna shut up because I don't.
Yeah, Eddie
You got
knows
two
like every
millennials in
fact.
He's annoying. I don't like him anymore. Get him off the show.
Oh
Hoist.
jeez.
Eddie, what does your shirt say?
Send nudes.
Oh fuck yes, we are gonna set.
I
We love
love
nudes.
that.
Well, I did. Fucking keto.
I fucking love that.
Nudes
My
are a
kids got me
bomb.
this shirt.
Every like, what was that? Well, that's one of the things that I knew Flesh and I were gonna be buddies for life. When he's like, "Did you ever notice that like the most badass characters in movies love eating noodles? Like in all like the best like cyberpunk and Japanime, like they're all noodle eaters." I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's-
right.
Sitting in a little bar.
Yeah, that's code for this guy's a fucking badass is when he eats noodles like fucking what's his name? Baldy from The Fifth Element has
Mhm.
noodles delivered to his fucking window.
Mhm.
You know, Han Solo in Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
opens up with him just eating a big bowl of nudes.
Right. I mean, it's
Yeah.
true. I think it's true. I mean, growing up, when I was a kid, like before I became cultured and understood the difference in the different Asian cultures, to me, ramen noodles was like how to be Asian in my house. Like I was just like, let me get some ramen noodles. Like this is back in the 80s. Because that's all you had, like at Chinese food places, but you couldn't always go there. So I'm like, let me just get some ramen noodles and just eat the shit up. It's kind of good we're talking about this, though, Eddie. I hope you're going to bring up gluttony next. I really do. If not, it's okay. But it sounds like we want to talk about
Sure.
gluttony.
I'm a glutton for gluttony.
He's a glutton for gluttony. I believe it. I do. No. So, Eddie, since you're here first, and you come with a Dungeon Master's guide's worth of facts and figures and details and stuff, tell us your perspective of gluttony, and if you know it, what spirit is associated with gluttony. If not, it's fine. I will tell us.
Spirit for gluttony.
I'm cheating a little bit.
Yeah, no, that one I don't have a demon in mind for gluttony. Off
So
the
I
top
don't
of my
think
head.
again there's not only one, but the list I have says Beelzebub is the demon of gluttony. So you know,
Okay.
picturing
Yeah. So if you think of Beelzebub flies as consuming the dead matter to recycle it.
like willing to eat anything,
Uh,
shit, dead things, anything. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I could almost go with Lilith on that one too, only because in the sense of Lilith is the devourer.
Mhm.
So the idea of that would be more like lust. It's that lust gluttony thing.
Right,
So
they
lust is
definitely- They definitely roll around in the hay with each other for sure. Like they're definitely
yeah, lust is the reaching for the thing, and the gluttony is the taking it and holding on. Well, greed is the taking it and holding on to it, and then gluttony is the consuming of it,
the
the
consumer.
devouring of it.
Yeah, where envy is the desire, lust is the lust for it. Lust. Which would come first, envy or lust? That's the question, right? I think.
Envy.
Yeah, I think
gotta
envy
go with
would
envy
come
on that one.
Yeah, I think. But envy isn't lust though, but it is a lustful feeling. Like, you do lust after what other people have, right? That would be what it would be.
Envy is in the eyes, lust is in the heart.
So in that case, envy would be in your book, like where Camilla said in the throat. You're saying it may even be in the third eye or the ajna, perhaps. Interesting. Interesting.
But gluttony. Gluttony's an odd one because it's the only one of the deadly sins that has built into it the concept of excess, right?
Like, is there a good form of gluttony, right? Like, does it exist? Like, that's a tougher one even than the others.
Well, and I'm thinking about it from the perspective of you're a medieval monk. And they're going to say things like, well, okay, you can't lust, so you're going to take a vow of celibacy, and you can't be greedy, so you're going to take a vow of poverty, and you can't be prideful, so you're going to take a vow of obedience. And you can deny utterly the possibility of all the other sins, but not gluttony, because you got to eat. Although there are those monks that supposedly sat and meditated until they died.
True. Yeah.
So, with gluttony, I feel like it's very easy to look at it from a materialistic standpoint of the accumulation of material resources, but you were asking, could there be a good form of gluttony? Playing devil's advocate, if we go into non-materialistic perspectives, if you are, hoarding love, if you are hoarding something that we consider positive, would that not be a good thing necessarily? I'm hoarding the love, so I may disperse it to others.
I think, no, because that sounds like greed again. I mean, I think gluttony to me is one of the harder ones to. It's very difficult to integrate if you have I'm not saying difficult to integrate. That's wrong. I mean, it's very difficult to find a positive expression of gluttony. Maybe someone in the chat could bring up one, but I find it to be a stretch.
Gluttony of wisdom.
What's that?
Yeah.
Gluttony of wisdom.
That's what I was just thinking. Gluttony of enlightenment.
No, because the problem with that is, gluttony is tied to experiential things, and enlightenment is not an experiential endeavor. Enlightenment, if you think enlightenment is something you experience, you are going to be sadly mistaken and let down. It is not a big wow moment. It's more of a, okay, all right, I get it. It's not fireworks. It's more like a satisfying burp. It's not something that it's more like taking a giant shit and you're done. Like you feel like, I'm safe now. I'm good. I get it. So it's not. I mean, I guess you could say you could be a glutton for the feeling of a good shit, but no. I don't think you could. I think, so for me, like if I was going to say gluttony had a good side, again, I'm hard pressed to find like an honest, like I could stretch, I could make a hard stretch and say it.
Wisdom is experienced. Wisdom is experienced knowledge.
Some guy named Eric in the chat says gluttony isn't necessarily the act, but it's more the glee and the pleasure, the abandon of the emotions and the senses over to the experience.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, the thing about gluttony is also you can equate it to, like, let's say someone has really bad depression, they're a glutton for punishment. They're a glutton for holding on to things that they should let go.
Because I mean, gluttony has built into the word, like you're saying, they have it's a self-destructive thing that you don't care if it's destroying you, right? So that's why I get what Nicki's saying, but my only problem with it is that you could, I don't see it as that, because being a glutton for wisdom isn't self-destructive you could argue it's always self-destructive because we destroy the ego. No. I mean, like, it's self-destructive in the toxic sense. Like, gluttony is just. I don't know. I mean, maybe Nicki's right. I don't know. I don't feel like there's. I don't know. Keep going, Camilla. I don't mean to like run you into a corner, but
I kind of see gluttony as an all-consuming vacuum.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean,
and sucking it in. Where does it go?
Because greed tends to not use its wealth; it tends to hoard it. Gluttony splurges everything. It just is. So greed feeds gluttony. Like greed's like, yes, I have this, and then gluttony takes that wealth and just blah 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 blah. I don't know.
Yeah, like with having too many occult books or being a know-it-all.
More books than you'd ever even be able to read.
Which is where I'm at right now.
Well, that sounds like greed to me. That sounds like greed because you want to acquire all this, but you don't. It sounds like envy too. It sounds like all the gluttony. I mean, I'm really having a hard time here because I'm really trying. And maybe it's just my own. Maybe that's like one of those things where it's like gluttony. Maybe it's only by itself. I don't think consumption is wrong, right? Like you want to be fat and eat. That's fine. I don't care. But if you feel consumed by that, want to eat and kill myself, and you regret it and you're sad about it, then gluttony becomes a problem, right? It only becomes a problem when it gets in the way, just like with anything psychological. Like if you look up, what is it, the DM5, what do they call it? I don't know, maybe Eddie knows.
DSM-5.
DSM-5, when you look up all the conditions and stuff, everybody's got a little schizophrenia issue potentially, but it only becomes diagnosable as a condition when it starts to like interrupt your life and fuck your life up. And like I'm sure I was classified as having schizophrenia growing up. I'm 100% sure of that. They pretty much told me, but they didn't say it was anything negative. They're like, no. I mean, you see spirits. A lot of people see spirits. We don't call them crazy. We just say they're different, right? I don't think they're real, but the other psychiatrist does. So we're not going to argue. So it's not that, necessarily it doesn't. I mean, because gluttony. Look, we just talked about nudes, right? One thing I can't wait to fucking do. T. Camilla knows where I'm going with this. The minute I'm off keto, I'm going to be a bad boy. And I'm probably that day, I'm going to go and I'm going to get, hopefully I don't kill myself. I'm probably going to fucking kill myself. We're going to go and I'm going to get karaage and then we're going to get ramen. Like I'm just going to get a bowl of each and just like plop, 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 plop. I'm just going to fucking pig out because I can't have any carbs, so I'm dying for it. And a fucking pizza. I want a fucking pizza and I want spaghetti and I want that shit. So that's going to be a bad day. Now that's going to be a gluttony day, right? That's going to be a day where I don't care if I make myself sick. I'm going to fucking eat this shit. So
you know what though? Off keto's not that bad.
What's that?
Coming off keto's not that bad.
Yeah, don't tell me. I'm waiting.
So I think the difficulty we're having with gluttony is the fact that built into gluttony as a sin is the idea of excess, right? That if it's not excessive, it's not gluttony.
Right. You're already doing it too much and you're hurting yourself already for it to happen.
From a certain perspective, gluttony's not even about the object of the thing you're indulging in. It's gone to the point of addiction, which is you are unable to stop yourself even though you know it's hurting you.
And maybe that's why I'm saying, like, even if Nicki was saying like, oh, I have a gluttony for wisdom. Well, what if that, if you do have a gluttony for wisdom, that can go to your head. It can become an addiction for it. Like imagine being a glutton for wisdom to the point where, you are, I don't know, raiding temples to steal their books so you learn their wisdom and shit. Like you don't care who you hurt, right? You just want to consume that wisdom, right? So
yeah, I have another one too, spiritualism, because a few years ago I got so wrapped up into it. I mean, a lot of what I do is spiritual, if not most. And I got to the point where I was doing elaborate rituals every day to where I'd have conversations with my friends, but most of my friends were witches, and they'd even be trying to, can we talk about a movie or something? I'm like, I do this ritual, like, and it almost got to the point of insanity, because if you get too much on the spiritual side and you're in this realm, yeah, it's just gonna be crazy. It's gonna be pure madness because yeah.
I think Eddie and I said this, or Eddie brought it up, or I said it, and he confirmed it. Like the one of the pitfalls of magic, after you get through the gimmies and the this and that, is experience seeking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you become a ghost hunter not because you want to know what ghosts are, but because you love being scared of ghosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You become a guru chaser, not because you want to be enlightened, but because a couple of times you did some deep meditations and had some firework meditation experiences where you saw some fucking weird visions and you're like, you want to do that again.
Yes, it gets addicting.
Right. Or someone who is doing too much ayahuasca because they think every time they do it, they gain more wisdom or something. So, I mean, yeah. So that's kind of, yeah. So, I don't know. Gluttony's a bitch, dude.
Think of the person who
you said first and
becomes so enlightened. They spend all of their time chasing more enlightenment and then never teach it to anybody.
Yeah.
They never write it down. They don't.
Again, enlightenment is once you've had, like, all right. The problem with the word enlightenment is there's nobody to be enlightened.
Yeah.
When you have enlightenment, there is no. You realize you've always had it. It's not a thing. Like enlightenment is not a. It is the threshold. In other words, when you hit enlightenment, you realize what you don't know, and you start going, whoa. But it's not. It doesn't turn into an addiction. Like, it's not like when Christians will say when you first taste the Holy Spirit and your cup gets empty and you want more of it and you go to church every day. This is more like you find peace when you hit enlightenment. You don't find lust when you. So I have a problem when we put enlightenment in the category anywhere near it, because it's what I think happens though is the illusory enlightenment, when people think they've found enlightenment, when they think they've had an enlightening moment, and then they lust after it over. That'd be like the ayahuasca guy, or like we were saying before, the person who's chasing after just spiritual experiences and shit. Like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, the experience hunter.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I don't want to run you guys if you guys really think I'm wrong, but just me personally, I as someone who has had that awakening moment that didn't require chemicals, I didn't become a god man. What happened was I went, oh shit, there's a lot more I got to learn. Look at this. I'm all of this. There's so much more out there. And it was actually humbling, but it was also ego boosting. Ironically, because it's not supposed to be. It was ego boosting in the sense that I was relieved of my ego. It was like, oh, I'm not a bad person after all. I'm everything. Oh, I get it. And it was right on the verge of being a bad thing, but it didn't. It healed that wound in my ego is what I'm saying. It kind of helped me with insecurity issues too, a lot, because I stopped fearing that I was inadequate, right? Because I realized that's a silly thing to say, right? So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, with your all permission, I'd like to jump to the next sin because we're running on time. So
yeah, do you wanna just introduce both of them at the same time?
I think we just got 2 left. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So what are the last 2?
Our last ones are sloth and envy.
So sloth is listed as Belphegor, which to me is perfect. Belphegor, the shit demon, as most people would call him, known for being the privy demon, the demon that's all about, like, you know, has the most brimstone going on, just gross. Like when people think of Belphegor, think of gross. Like that's usually what people think, at least what I think of. Then for envy, you have Leviathan. Now Leviathan makes total sense. Leviathan encircling the world, claiming it all. I wish I was this. I wish, and a very emotional oriented demon, as demons go in most people's grimoires. Leviathan is the you know, if the water element is emotion, Leviathan is that beast that lurks deep within emotion, right? So whichever one you guys want to talk about first, or both, or talk about both, I'm going to shut up. You guys talk.
Well, I didn't have anything prepared, so I'll type up something on sloth and get it to you next week, okay?
You know what?
Make sure it's got a lot of typos in it, because you don't feel like proofreading it too. That's how I like it.
Oh, that's nice and slothy. I'll go back to our discussion about the positive qualities of these sins and things that you need to embrace on some level. With sloth, I feel like you really, I mean, even the great Sky Daddy took the 7th day to rest, and
you
that
need
was
to fuck
rather
it.
slothful.
You need to have fuck it needs to be in your vocabulary, especially as an enlightened
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you were saying earlier, actually both you, Nicki and DH, about just the YouTube game and looking at people's numbers and everything like that. Like sometimes we do look at other people's numbers and like, fuck, I want to be there, or I want that level of success. And that could be a real driving force, because I feel like if you're not pushing yourself to reach higher, then you just risk stagnation. And these are qualities which, when tempered, can be very beneficial for us.
Right, if it's not about taking from them, but feeling the same joy that they might feel for being that. Yeah. Like, for sure, like one of the reasons I started my YouTube game was because I was watching people that were successful at it. I'm like, I think I could do that, and I think I could do this part better or different, and I want to do that. And I've always wanted to do this. I want to get out of my 9-to-5 grind at my day job. Hey, let's do this, right? So there's definitely envy involved that spurred me on. There's no question.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the like I was talking about with in the chat with my depression. And envy is one of the things that kept me going. Was I don't want to be here living like this for the rest of my life. I want better. I want what that guy has. Right. So I'm gonna get my crap together and go get it.
I think the trap becomes when you don't achieve necessarily what you're aiming at, and then your pride gets hurt and you crash, right? I think that's what makes envy a sin, is that it distracts you from what success you have. Because envy implies that you're never satisfied. Envy is like, okay, I got that guy's stuff, but now there's somebody higher, right? And I've even felt that creeping in, going, okay, let's say you have your success as a spiritual, whatever you are, a spiritual teacher, guide, communicator, like I'm like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of magic, right? Or the Alex Jones of magic or something, right? So then what, right? Then what? And I go, I was always ruler of the world, and I'm like, fuck, politics, no, So, and then I watch movies like The Omen and go, shit, I didn't even realize there's fucking, my mom must have patterned my hair right after that kid and shit. So like I go, maybe I'm like the Antichrist, and then the chosen one syndrome creeps in, because you start wondering if you're being driven towards something greater, and then you get like problems. So we all wrestle with that fucker from time to time, I think. But envy is often.
Envy.
Go ahead.
Envy's the monkey tree, right? You look down and all you see are smiling faces. You look up and all you see are assholes.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that keeps the monkeys climbing the monkey tree.
Yep. Very true. And you don't care if everybody thinks that you're an asshole below you. Yeah, I do. I can't stand that. Like, actually, one of the things I don't like, being who I am and being seen as some kind of a very minor celebrity, right? You know what I don't like is I notice when people will side with me just because it's me. I've noticed that. Like I'll put a suggestion up and suddenly everyone's like, I want to do what Thorne says. All right. Let's not forget. I mean,
agree. I hate when people do that.
You're
notice totally right there, Thorne.
Just saying it happens, and I notice it.
That's why I've taken the role of being the designated disagreeer. DH.
Guards, you heard that, right? He just admitted it? Okay, good. Yes, execute order Ed 66. Yes, we know. Yeah, good. Okay, good. So, no, and when I did the cult thing as a younger person, I actually manipulated that. I used that to my advantage, so it got to the point where I didn't have to speak and my wishes were carried out. And it still happens, but now I'm less malevolent about it, we'll say. I'm less prideful about it. I'm more, how can I take this group of ragtag people who like my work, and I'm not saying 24 hours a day, I'm not selfless. There's definitely days where I'm like, how can I get these people to help support me more? But for that sincerity though is the shield that protects me from letting it go too far. By having a pact with myself to not lie, to overshare that shit, people go, well, at least he's honest about what he's doing, and I know where to draw the line between what he says and what I am. I hope. Because one of the greatest risks to being someone like me is it's very easy to take that and snowball it into a ridiculous cult of people that will do whatever you want, up to a point, right? And I was in that up to a point. Like, I mean, sure, there was limits. I couldn't be like, kill that guy, and they would have done it. Maybe one or two of them would have, but it wasn't that far. But it was definitely like, getting gross. And I found myself getting grossed out by it and stepping back as they envied my power and people tried to get into my position. I realized what a douche it made me to try to hold that position even. And so envy's a bitch. Pride's a bitch too if you let it get you. So just real talk for a minute. But I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts on envy? And we'll go to sloth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Fight! Fight! Go fight!
Lightsaber.
I-
Wand.
touching back on envy and how it drives you, I'm not gonna lie, I was very envious, jealous that you were able to get out of the grind, the day-to-day grind, and something I always wanted to do was form an Etsy store, but the problem was coming up with products. You know, you gotta be the first, or you gotta be the best.
Or different.
Everybody does wrap jewelry. Everybody sells amigurumis. Everybody fucking makes blankets and all sorts of shit. You know, it's like, how can you make this original? And when we were making our mirrors, our triangle mirrors, you know, and you had me decorate yours, it's like, you know, fuck, I could sell that. You know, and the envy drove me. You know, and I mean, you see other people and what they do, like Elena Lemmy with her freaking badass shit that she does, and
Link in the description,
you know,
by the way, for Limitless
with all her-
Liberations.
like, fuck, I want to do shit like that. It's like, I don't want to steal from them, though.
And speaking of Elena, I'm going to be licensing these from her. I'm going to be selling them, I should say. They're hard to show in this light, but these are crystal balls with designs in them, and I'm going to be selling a few different ones, including a Lucifer one and a Trinity of Self one. You know, they're nice reconstituted crystal with etchings in them. Buy our crap. Go ahead.
It's just, you know, getting that foothold, and then once, you know, because, like, I do my best thinking either on the toilet or in the shower.
There's
And that's
Belphegor.
with a lot of my project ideas. Some of them fall through, like the hand project I was going to do. I'm still going to figure that one out.
We have a
But
few on the burner. Like, we've got wands that I'm going to start doing and staves
Yeah.
for me, and I'm sure you're going to have stuff like that. You know, you're going to branch out as you get comfortable. Wands.
Yeah.
Wands. I have
Yeah.
the prototype started. It's a little thick. That'll probably make Flesh happy. But I've got to whittle this down a lot more, so I'm working on it. I just got to get time in the shop to finish it. So
Girthy.
I mean, honestly, I was going to have more shit up, but Sloth hit. Sloth hit hard this winter. It hit really hard this winter. So, you know, I'm going to be getting back into a lot of that. Figuring out
Sloth's
shit.
a bitch. Sloth is like the enemy of the satisfaction of all of those things, but it's also the outcome of all of them. We'll talk about Sloth in a minute.
Like, oh, you fucking got your Etsy up, you sold some shit, and now, fuck it.
Rest on your laurels, bitch. You earned it, and then it gets too far.
Yeah.
It happens to me when I write a book. Like, I've written 3 books. I didn't think I had one book in me. I wrote 3 so far, and I got another one coming. But I always hit a point where it's like, can people just buy the 3 books I have? Why do I have to keep writing books? Look, other people write 3 or 4 books and they're set for life. Why do I got to keep writing? You know, do I have any more good books in me? You know, like, fuck, I thought I used all my ideas up. No, you got tons of them in there, stupid. Keep writing. And the best are yet to come, probably. Like, when I look at my stuff, I'm like, I could have written a lot of stuff. I got novels I could write still, you know? And actually, we'll talk about Sloth in a minute, but just to touch on it, one of the reasons I'm writing the book I'm writing was because I felt this slothful laziness about not being able to write the fiction I wanted to write. And since I was already drawing upon my real life experiences in some ways to flesh out the fiction, it's like, fuck it, make it in a more autobiographical thing so it can be first person from your perspective, and you can insert your own Mary Sue that's you without it being like, oh, look, a Mary Sue. You know, and this way it could be more from the heart, and you can tell a better story because I'm like, okay, cool. So that's why I started writing this current one. But to get there, I went through a lot of sloth. I was just like, fuck it, man. I got 3 books. Buy those fucking things, you know. So anything more about envy, Camilla? Then we'll go to Nicki, who I think had something she wants to say about envy.
If you're struggling with envy, work with Leviathan.
Or don't. Maybe work with Lucifer
No.
to give you more pride.
It's a while for me, so I think I need to touch base again.
Because I feel like you know, pride and envy are enemies of each other. But that's really not true. But pride is
No.
like, I'm happy with myself. Look at me. But I think but no, you're right, because pride, again, we said cometh before the fall. Pride cometh first. You have a pride in yourself, and so you envy others like they shouldn't be better than me, and that's pride right there. I saw Eddie roll his eyes like, no, Thorne, you're wrong. Freaking half-bald motherfucker.
No. I had a thought, but it escaped me.
I have a fact to share with Eddie, actually. Did
Uh-oh.
you know, Eddie, that the 7 deadly sins are actually not in the Bible?
They are not.
Nope, they
They're
are not.
I didn't actually know what they were when I was in seminary, because I was one of those fundy Baptists, and we don't talk about those things.
True.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bible mainly just focuses on the 10 Commandments.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
no, for real. No, definitely it's a Christian theology, but it's not. It's like the saints, right? The saints aren't in the Bible. They might be in some of the extra stuff, but they're not. But they're still part of Christian lore. And as a Protestant Baptist growing up, there's a whole world of superstition and Christian lore and myth that I am completely unaware of. To me, if it's not in the Bible, it didn't happen in Christianity up until a few years after I left being Christian, right? Up until that point, I was like, that's not true Christianity. That's some other thing. That's wrong. The Catholics were wrong because I was stupid and dogmatic. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Then as I started to realize how wrong I was about things, I started to explore. Then I learned all of this because I'm like, yeah, you know what? Lucifer's not even in the Bible. Who's Lucifer? Where does he come from? And you find out it's a mistranslation of stuff and all this other crap. So, yeah. So, anything else about envy though, Nikki? You look like you were going to jump in, and you and Camilla tied. So,
Yeah, I wanted to add something too. I know you were speaking upon just envy, receiving envy from people.
mm-hmm.
And, I would say that's more of the spectrum of where I've been with it, having that evil eye, having people jealous, or, just trying to push that away. So that's actually something that I'm working with, because that's something I've kind of struggled with the last few years. So I'm using Saturn energy to push that envy away, and how I'm going to do that is by giving more service to the community and service to people around me, and using Saturn's vibes to kind of climb the mountain higher and work harder and be stricter with myself, so I can show people what I'm made of. But it's kind of, you almost have to do something to also flip it around, and then obviously magically just push that evil eye right back in their face,
Fuck yeah. I'd say like the biggest.
I envy you that you get envied.
No, you don't though, because when people envy you, it's crabs in a bucket, and they try to pull you down to climb over your corpse. One of the worst things, I was going to say,
nobody likes the crabs.
People don't realize, like when I was a nobody and I was getting discovered, people came out of the woodwork to help me. And it was because they saw maybe in me that I had something that they liked, and they wanted to actually ride me, basically, is what it really was. But they acted very supportive, and I was supportive back. I told you guys, and I'm very simple. You can ask most people that I work with now anyway, will tell you that I'm into mutual support. I like to see people grow. Like, I like to support people who support me, and I like to see them grow on their own merits, not because of me. I'll help them, and I like to sprinkle water on their growing bushes and shit, but I don't want them to be a leech off of me, and that's why they're growing. And I had big breakups happen in the last year or so. The worst was with dark sorcery, and there was, and I probably shouldn't be talking about it too much because we kind of buried the hatchet, but the envy that was in their hearts over the success I was having, thinking that I used them to get there. And I'm like, I did everything for you guys. I set up YouTube channels. I did this. I promoted. I set up all the work. We did everything together and constantly trying to help. And then when it came time where I was getting some recognition and stuff, I still included them with everything. I never said don't join. But then at some point I realized I'm doing work for these guys, and they're I'm supposed to design logos for them, and I'm supposed to, they won't set up their own services. They won't do this. They won't do that. and it just became like a drag. And it was like, I got to work for myself. Like, you're not paying me anything, you know. And one guy was still bossing me around like he was my boss. I'm like, no, we're done. I can't do this anymore. And so when that fell apart, I realized that what was making that toxic was it became envy. The support became envy. And my own pride said, no, fuck you. I'm not letting you fucking use me like that. And they think, in their hearts, they really think that I use them. They sincerely believe that. And how do I change it? Well, I can't. So then I got to live with what they hate about, you know, the situation. I got to live with it and just do the best I can and just walk alone. And just be more careful next time who I bring into my circle to be my wingmen and my wingwomen and that kind of thing. And just be like, nope. If people, look, if Flesh Priest ever comes to me and says, Thorne, you know, I want to get paid something because of all the work I do, he won't have to, because I'm always insisting on cutting him in whenever we do something where there's money. But if he ever goes, Thorne, I think you're stealing the spotlight from me, I'll be like, then fucking yank it out from under me then, bitch. Don't fucking make me give it to you. Fucking shine, bastard. You got it in you to shine. What the fuck? Like, like, that's why I like working with EA, because EA and I don't have to fight for the spotlight. It just naturally just like, yay, we love you guys, and Flesh Priest and all you guys. Like, I don't have to fight. Like, it's not a fight. Like, when you guys want the mic, you fucking take the mic. And I love that. Like, that's the that's what Nicki was saying. I like that kind of friendly, like, competitiveness can be supportive. Like, you can have, like, iron sharpening iron competition, or you can have I beat you motherfucker. And a lot of people with the I beat you motherfucker attitude.
The out-sharing competition.
Yeah, and a lot of people have that I beat you motherfucker, and they pretend it's iron. That's not really iron sharpening iron. That's iron breaking iron. It's a different thing. You know, if I wanted to break someone, I can. I actually really enjoy, are you better at this yet? Can we have a more interesting? Okay, good. Let's have a more interesting. I like seeing that, because winning is not, it's not that great by itself. It's really not. It's more fun to see other people win and then get the satisfaction of going, yeah. It's like being a gardener versus a hunter or something, right? I like to see the crops grow. I like to see them get big and strong, and then I like cutting them down and eating them, right? I'm just gonna shut up. I'm sounding like an asshole, but you get what I'm saying. I'm acting.
I want to see the crops grow because it's more satisfying to cut them down when they're large and strong.
I guess I am a horrible villain. There was a movie like that, wasn't there, where the guy actually makes sure, it was like was it a martial arts movie or something? Where he made sure the guy was like a badass before he fought him. Like, he'd like really help him there. Like, he built him up. Yeah, I think it was Ator. It was the first Ator movie.
Talking about Dragon Ball Z?
Oh, God, that movie.
You know what I'm talking about, Eddie, right? The prequel to the pre-movie to Cave Dwellers, right? He trains him to be the most badass warrior, so then he can fucking, like, I don't even know why he did it. I forgot what his reasoning was. Let's not give the movie away. We're gonna put that on the list for next time. We're gonna put that as one of the bad movies to watch.
What the fuck was it?
I think it was called Ator. It's the movie that. So the Cave Dwellers is the sequel to it. So was it the Fighting Eagle or something like that? It was something really lame like that. But
yeah. It was a really good MST3K episode.
Look up ATOR, I think is how you spell it. And it's got this dude with the worst Fu Manchu. Cave Dwellers, by comparison, is actually a masterpiece of comedic fantasy, like B-movie shit. I love Cave Dwellers, especially the Misty version of it. Like, friggin' hysterical movie. But, oh man. All right, back to the subject. Let's go back to sloth. I'm fucking pontificating again. I sound like a fucking pompous asshole. Let's go.
We're too lazy to get the sloth.
Oh man.
And
we have to announce the winning movie too, but we'll do that after sloth. Let's take our time and get through sloth.
And once again, with the note of sloth, like, even fucking Sky Daddy Jehovah took a day of rest. Like, I see so many people fucking burn themselves out constantly, whether it's creatively or just trying to push into the grind, where occasionally you just gotta have a little bit of that sloth.
And sloth.
Honestly, workaholics do it.
I mean,
well, and that's the inspiration happens is, you know, whether it's at work or life or whatever, is you get so focused on what you think the problem is. It's not until you stop and take a step back and, you know, relax a little bit that you realize that that's not even the problem, you know, or I can end run around this thing.
True.
And solve it a different way.
The passive learning where you go to bed with a problem in your mind, you wake up with the answer. Yeah.
Yep. That's why Bill Gates used to say he liked hiring lazy people, because a lazy guy is going to find a way to automate a task.
That's a good point. I will as a quote unquote lazy person, it's really more like depression that makes me act lazy. But yes, I like to find easy solutions to hard problems so that way I don't have to worry about. Like I said, I want to write books so that someday, look, I'm not even famous yet. Like, imagine the books that I have, they're already successful and I'm not famous. Imagine if I got famous now. I probably won't have to work a day in my life. I still will, because I don't like the idea of just like beating off all day, but you know what I'm saying? I'll still do this at least, you know, but it's like, I want an easy solution to that. But sloth is more than just being lazy. It's also being sloppy. It's also being like just sitting in your own filth.
I was gonna say, like, between me and you, are we really sloth at all? You know, I mean, even on our days off, the days where we're not doing anything, I'm still doing something. You know,
we're always busy. Right.
Eating,
we're always busy.
Watching TV. I always have a project I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
or I keep my mind active with a video game or a word puzzle or a jigsaw puzzle or something. I'm always doing something. I can't just sit there. So am I really sloth?
I think with regard to the fact that we are like, well, you're almost a hoarder and I don't clean up. So it's like between the two of us, like we're pretty much like somehow we can walk in our house. It's not that bad, but
it's not so much a hoarder. It's I have a lot of things I'm working on.
And a lot of stuff. But yeah, I mean, you know, like my stuff fits into like a corner of the living room and a corner of the bedroom. You have like the rest of the house. So it's like, I don't know if I can't agree with you there, honey. You're not a hoarder because you're not a hoarder on one level because we're not at the point where we're like dodging boxes as we're walking. Actually, we are. We're on level 1 of hoarder. We're on the floor level. It's going to build up in high rise eventually, but we're not there yet. We're still, we have the foundations of hoarding going on, but we're not quite there yet.
It's not garbage. I mean, yeah, we have like cardboard boxes that we gotta throw out. It's not a lot of them because we order online a lot of shit, so there's that. But it's stuff. It's things we're working on.
How many stuffed animals do we have, honey?
That's your fucking fault.
It is. It is.
Because you do.
I have a whole bunch too. I do. I have a whole bunch of stuffed animals too.
What do you do to me every time we go to Michael's?
Every time we go to Michael's or any store where they have the little plushy,
die. Your fault.
I always grab one that has the most soulful eyes, and I'm like, you can't leave this guy. You know you can't. Yeah. I push her into it. It's part of my fun. It's like a cat knocking a glass off the table. That's me. I'm like, I know she's gonna buy this.
Enabler.
I'm an enabler. It's worse than an enabler. An enabler usually doesn't like. I'm really getting a kick out of it.
On the topic of sloth, I have a confession to make. I've been very lazy and I forgot to get to these super chats.
Oh shit, we had them? I've been like reading this other thing the whole time. I'm sorry, guys.
Jay Sauber and Jin Genie both super chatted us. Didn't say anything, but did super chat. We fucking appreciate you for the support.
Jay Sauber sent me a nice Patreon message the other day, and you know, I don't know, I don't know what the thing is, but you know, Jay, the interesting about Jay Sauber is, you know, he was, I don't want to tell too much about his life, obviously, because, you know, he's like we've worked together and stuff on some of his stuff, but, you know, he's come from this Christian background like most of you guys have, but in a way closer to like Eddie, like he knows things, and you know, he really supports when people help people, almost like dealing with addiction, right? I think he really likes that we offer a way out of this that's not just edgy and evil. It's evil for the fun, edgy stuff, but it's not like, we're not telling you to go burn a cat or something. We're like the legitimate like alternative to this bullshit that people treat as religion and Satanism. You know, I think we are, at least I think I am, because when I look at a lot of, and forgive me theistics watching me, a lot of so-called theistic Satanists just invert the cross and they're done. You know, they do all the same shit, they just code it with different words, and it's the same practice, it's the same trap, right? They have a new God to be offended about when someone says the wrong thing. That's why I'm saying don't hate me for saying this, because a lot of theistic Satanists will go, you do not respect my father, Lord Satan. And it's like, oh, fucking, here we go. But, you know, so I think that, you know, maybe that's one thing that he likes. But he's a good guy, you know, like, and I appreciate him. And Gin Genie,
Yeah,
like,
seems
Gin Genie's
pretty great.
Gin Genie's been watching us for a long time, and you know, that's something like I just posted about the shadow ban. I was really shadow banned, guys. My views and my subs were down to half of the lowest point they've ever been, right? So I was at the lowest my average was 150 subs a month, at the lowest in 2020. And from the, I don't even want to say the word in case it triggers an algorithm, from the events of early November until now, my subs were down to about 80 per month for about 2.5, 3 months there. And it was only this past 30 days they finally went back up to something resembling what they should be. So because of your guys' support, I made it through it, and I'm no longer shadow banned. But I also knew from people, they messaged me saying, I didn't even know you were uploading. I stopped getting notifications. So the shadow ban cancel shit is real, guys. You got to watch what you say. Even if you're not told by them you said something wrong, algorithms will kick your ass.
Well, that's good that you got out of it, you know, that it's not as bad.
I mean, I don't think there's even magic I could have done that worked. I mean, I was in a funk too, so it was hard to like do anything to drag myself out of it even. So it was just like, I'm just gonna keep working. Like, what do they say when you're in mud? Just one foot in front of the other. Just keep pulling the cart. You'll pull out eventually. And I'm just not gonna stop. You can't beat me, motherfucker.
I hate it when I lose half my subs.
Shit. Oh, that's that poly life.
Oh, Eddie.
So I know we're getting close to wrapping up. I had 2 questions which I think might be fairly rapid fire. If
yeah, let's
first
do
one
it.
was for you specifically, DH.
Oh fuck.
A dice controller was asking. He was asking earlier. Let me scroll up for this. About your. Oh, where is it? I know I saved it. I'm fucking up. He was asking about your ritual circle. I think he might have been referring to the Patreon classes.
Okay.
He was asking where you set that up.
So if you go to Patreon, if you're interested in joining my Monday classes, where it's a lot less like a frat party. It's actually just lessons in magic. It's way more. In fact, I have a preview class. If you look in my playlists, if you look in my older videos, and really I wish YouTube would make it easier to make like playlists that people would actually see existed, because I tell people I have playlists. They're like, what are playlists? Like, people don't even know like there's such a thing as playlists. If you look in my videos, there's one where I gave a free preview of my classes. So if you want to see what they're like, that's a good example. We meditate, we do live rituals, we do all that stuff. We read from my books, we cover everything, we do exercises. Actually, a week or so ago, we did a chi ball manifestation exercise, and most of the people there had never done it, and their eyes lit up like someone kicked them in the sweet spot, because they never experienced like, you can actually feel this shit. Yes, you can actually feel it with your body. Like, it's not just your imagination. You're gonna be like, there's something between my hands. I don't know what it is. Exactly. That's what we want you to feel. So,
DH, you could totally set up playlists to be front and center. Oh,
shut up, you. You
like
have to.
when somebody views your channel.
I'm gonna make you a mod of my channel so you can do that for me, since you suggested it. Since you're so helpful. No, I'm just kidding. It sounds like such an Italian like father thing to do. Since you're so helpful. But anyway, Dice, if you're still here, if you're interested in that, in the link tree is a link to my Patreon. One of the tiers of my Patreon, there's $20 big spender. Ignore that one. That's just for people who are really generous and want to donate. The $20 you want to do is, it says, I think it says live video or live group video classes, $20. And if you click that and you sign up for it, that'll set you up. And if you're already in Discord, if you already have a Discord account, it will automatically give you access to that. If it doesn't, just message me on Patreon and Discord so I know who you are, and with like a screenshot of you paying for it, and I'll make sure you get the right thing, because everything is handled through Discord. The class takes place on Discord. It's in the Discord video chat, and all of the links to the videos are both on Patreon and the special tier and in Discord. So if you're interested in it, that's where you check it out. That goes for anybody. And like that's my big thing I'm doing right now. I'm dedicating a lot of time to it. I'll probably do it until I get sick of it, because I will get sick of it eventually. I'm probably not gonna go over the same subjects more than once or twice. So I don't see me redoing the whole course, right? Because I just feel like I like to do things one and done and do them right the first time. But we'll see. Maybe I will repeat them in a year or something. We'll see. So check it out. And like I said, every class is recorded. You can watch them again. All right. Back to. So is that it for that? And we'll go to the next question.
The next question, it was specifically tied to something that you had set up, but I want to make it general for everybody. It's about curses, which I don't have any direct experience here. This person, Wyatt Coverdale, was asking, what is the purpose of making curses so what is the purpose of making curses so severe? If you were to hear DH's Grimoire curse, it's literally a death sentence. It's personal, yes, but is it worth a life? So, everybody, why make curses so severe?
I'm gonna wait because Nicki had the most powerful reaction to that question. Nicki, go first.
Oh wow!
I love tear them down to the ground.
She's like, in fact, I'm cursing them for asking. Fuck those people. No.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what got me into magic, actually, was I started just saying crazy stuff. You know, I wish this would happen, it would happen, you know? And, yeah, I mean, with that, it's, you know, I would say the last curse that I had to do recently was because someone was threatening me to a certain level. So it's kind of just a justice type of thing, and it's just okay, so they're pretty much saying that they're gonna do one of the most severe curses on me, which generally sometimes I might even just ignore. You know, it really depends on the situation. It was like a fake account, but I knew who it was using a fake account, you know? So it's like, so my method is usually I just did the worst possible curse I could do, and then after the justice was performed, I forgave them, and then I sent love their way too, and that's kind of my way of just mending it and having it not affect me anymore, you know?
Good answer.
I love curse work. Love it. Just did one this weekend where I evoked Abaddon, Asmodeus, and Beelzebub on somebody. And there's two purposes of a curse, as I see it. First one is balance the scales, get justice, remove the threat, solve the problem. Whatever the problem is, solve the problem. But one that gets the secondary purpose, and this gets overlooked a lot, and this will echo something DH said earlier about curses, is that it's to get all of that toxic crap that's inside you out of you, right? Because as long as you're holding on to that, it's hurting you, it's not hurting them. And if you've done a curse right, when you're done and you walk away from it, it doesn't matter if they live or die or what happens to them, because they're dead to you. They're not living in my head anymore.
You're not attached anymore. Yeah.
Right. And in this specific circumstance, so this is someone is owed a debt because they got swindled out of some money by somebody. I aimed the curse at the money, not the person. So the idea is that the money itself will become a curse, and everything that this person tries to do with it will turn to crap until they finally get the hint and give the money back. And so that's in terms of targeting curses, that's one of the things I recommend to people is aim at the problem, not the person. So even if the problem is I'm getting attacked by this person, because as soon as you you aim at the person, you start to fall into that trap of you're monkeying with their free will, and so now
True. Yep.
you're the
They're
demon
much
in their
harder.
subjective
And
universe.
they're much harder to hurt because everyone's true nature will defend, even if they're a total
Right.
skeptic, right? It's a much harder target, yeah.
Right. And so, with the little witch war we found ourselves in a while ago, you know, there again, the idea of the cursing I was doing there was essentially traps. So, with tripwires around myself and the people I cared about, so that, hey, if this guy doesn't do anything, nothing's going to happen to him. But if as soon as he starts trying to screw with somebody I care about, that claymore is going to go off in his face.
It's one of the reasons I like shadow people. We'll talk about that when it comes to me to answer. Yeah. Yeah. Miss
Yeah,
Camilla,
and-
do you have any additional, what do you think about that question or answers to it?
I'm actually gonna flip it. I've never personally cursed anyone.
What? Why the hell did I grow all that weird freaking fungus on? I'm shutting up. Just kidding.
I've thought about it. There's someone in particular that I would have loved to throw something at, but instead, I took my anger and I put it into a ritual, and I severed ties from my heart with this person, and I have never felt more free. That's pretty much it. You know, I remove people from my life.
Mm-hmm.
I personally remove them from my life. I block calls. I remove from social media. I don't see them at family functions.
It's like you're dead to me. Dead, I tell you.
That's exactly it. That's the best curse I can perform, is to live well and happy with my loved ones.
You misspelled the word "the." You're dead to me.
You know, and I over the past 2 years, I haven't felt more free.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, since I was kind of slightly called out because the point was about something I put in one of my grimoires. So, number one, most of what Eddie said, and Nicki to a different extent, but especially what Eddie said about non-attachment is where I hang my hat on curses. To me, I really don't give a fuck. You know, if I'm cursing you, it's because I have an imbalance and an attachment to the problem or the person, or someone else does and they're paying me to deal with it for them. And all magic doesn't work if you're attached to the problem. You know, like in other words, it can, but it's like your odds for success go way down the more you worry about it, and the more it's a problem when you're in hurting your heart. Magic works best. This is why I think magic for hire isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not that offensive to me, because sometimes the problem is just too close to you and you just can't deal with it, and you need somebody else because you're going to be dwelling on it all the time. Curses are very much like that. Curse work is often done best. You could argue that, yeah, you got a lot of hate in your heart, so there's a lot of energy that goes for it. But I would say that makes it harder too. What I would rather do is harness the hate that person has, channel it through me, who doesn't give a fuck. Not through me, but through my working, by the way. Not through me, because I don't want to get hit by that. But I want to take that hatred they have, you know, create a conduit through my methods, and then I'm not attached to the problem. So I'm just like, here you go, fucker. And you earned it because I don't like you because of what they told me, and I'm usually pretty ethical about it. I don't curse unless I feel like it's justified. I've had people come to me like, I need you to curse my ex because they're still a problem because they want to see their son. And it's like, well, what? You know, like hold on, what's this? I don't know if I like this. This sounds like you're just being well, anyway. So I want to know, and it turns out that they're really just being vindictive, and they don't like that, and they want to. I don't want to see him because I cheated on him and he didn't. And it's like, okay, fuck you. I'm cursing you if I have a chance. But they asked specifically, like, isn't that harsh? Why are they so harsh? And that's really the question. Why are they so harsh? It wasn't why do we curse, right? So let's go with why are they so harsh? And, well, for one thing, the harshness is a thing that's an attachment of your own. If you're slinging death at somebody, that's because you're hurting so bad. You have an attachment or something that you feel like that's the only balance that's the only way to put your thumb on the scale and balance it. But you have to recognize that a lot of what you're reading into a curse's harshness is symbolic. If I hit somebody with a death curse, I can tell you right now that usually I'm not looking for them to die. What I'm looking for is for them, like Eddie said, to be removed from, or like my wife said, removed from my life completely, dead to me. I don't want to know about them. I want them to suffer, but I also don't want to know about them, really, because the whole idea of them suffering is like an ego trip. It's just to make me feel good about myself. So really, you know, like with all magic, you got to walk back and figure out what your higher, truest intentions are. You may think your ego wants the person to die, but what you really want is your pride to be mended and for them to be out of your life. That's really what death does. So you want that healing of that situation. Now, you could be a love and light motherfucker and just heal yourself and blah, 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 blah. Well, a lot of the times it's going to have the same effect. You know, living well is the best revenge in a lot of cases. So if you go and you do all this beautiful stuff to yourself, don't kid yourself, all right? I'm speaking to the love and light weenies that are listening right now. Don't kid yourself for a minute that your whole idea that you're going to somehow refrain from doing harm, so you're going to bless yourself instead. You're not going to be lording that over somebody somewhere and hoping it gets... Don't tell me you're not going to be like, see, I'm doing better than those motherfuckers. Don't tell me you're not going to think that, because you are. Okay, I guarantee you are. So you're still cursing them. You're just cursing them with your own success at that point. So why do we act harsh? Again, a lot of that is a misunderstanding of the language. Now, if we're talking about what I put in Shadownomicon about if you read this grimoire, then you're doomed and blah, 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 blah. You do realize what I tell you to use that grimoire for, right? You do realize that that grimoire is almost like your deepest, darkest journal of your shadow. Do you want people to have access to that without having some repercussion or a way to deal with that person? Do you want someone to have the keys to what makes you tick and makes you vulnerable? Do you want somebody to know that maybe you've got sexual what's the word, Eddie? I can't get it out of my mouth. Sexual proclivities. Yeah, sexual proclivities that would get you in trouble potentially. You know, maybe you don't act on them, but maybe you got them. Maybe you got a desire that maybe you shouldn't, you know, exercise, and you're working on controlling it. Maybe, you know, maybe you want to cheat on your wife. Maybe you know, I'm not even going to say because I don't want you to get the wrong impressions, but there's things out there we can't talk about. So would you want someone to have access to that, knowing that you worked with the tall man and that's a vulnerability with you? Do you want people to have access to that? And if they did, wouldn't you want them to be destroyed by that knowledge rather than use it against you? So if there's harshness in there, that's a big reason why. The other thing is, when it comes to shadow people in particular, shadow people are only as strong as the person they're attacking. That is to say, in order for a shadow person to really work as a curse, the person has to be vulnerable to those shadows. If you inflict somebody with their own shadows and they don't really have powerful shadows that are ruling them or hurting them, guess what? It's not going to hurt them. Now, why is that important? It's like a mirroring curse, right? A mirroring curse works because you're taking the negativity they're giving to you and hitting them. So long as they're hitting you, they're going to get hurt. In much the same way, using the shadow people as a curse, the thing that they're hurting you with is usually their shadow. So if they stop doing what they're doing, if they integrate their shadow, they heal and they stop being a dick to you, the shadow will probably start leaving them alone because it's gone. On the other hand, if they are someone who's got major problems and they're being a dick to you, they're probably going to suffer. There was, I don't want to get too specific because he'll probably hear about this and then post about me endlessly and give me a hard time. But there was this one person in the community who's just, everybody knows that they're just a pain in the ass. And a lot of people have like tried to get him and cursed him. And oddly enough, people always, when they do that, weird crap happens to them soon after. They're not a powerful occultist, but it is kind of interesting that it always reflects on them. And it didn't to me, okay? We'll just leave it at that because I didn't put it about my ego. It really had nothing to do with me about beating him. I inflicted him with his own shadows and the motherfucker caught a machete in his hand. So that's all I'm going to say. It has nothing to do with me beating him or getting damage to him and going, look, I beat you. It was like, may he suffer his own motherfucking shadows. In fact, here, let me give him a little extra energy to make sure that they have an extra inch in their life. And so be it. They are currently in that state and it's not going to stop. It'll stop when they stop. I don't have control over it. Just like Eddie says, a person's own individual sovereignty ultimately is what curses them. Because I'm telling you from a fact, we're all divinity. We're all gods, okay? Nothing can be done to us that we don't do to ourselves. So in order to curse somebody, something about them has to be accepting of that judgment. Something about them has to be like, yeah, you know what? My avatar does need to suffer this situation so he learns a fucking lesson or something. So maybe that's true, maybe it's not. That's just my opinion. But someone with a Greek name, which I can't read, but it's like Enma something or other. Be free in your actions. There is nothing wrong that you do, and that is true. There is no morality here. I don't judge somebody. I don't judge somebody who okay, Wyatt, I'm not going to give you no more inches. I'll give you inches in life. At the end of your life, you will live exactly 2 inches longer than you did before. Right now, boom, you live 2 inches longer now.
If you want a couple extra inches in your life, go subscribe to my OnlyFans. I will give you exactly 2 extra inches in your life.
I mean, I don't know if I have big dick energy, but I definitely got dick energy, and I'm proud of that dick. So
I
anyway.
think you got medium dick energy because you speak with the dead.
Well, that's going in the Gnosis channel.
That's going in. That's going in. Medium dick energy. I don't think that's a compliment, Flesh. I think anything other than giant dick energy is an insult to my Luciferian pride. I'm going to have to destroy you now with my shadow power. I'll ask the ladies present, how big is my energy? I'm just kidding. For real though. Very round and curved. But for real though,
Girthy.
I mean, girthy and hooked. It's got a hooking action to it.
It has a hook.
Oh no. So what I'm getting at is, I mean, if you look at this like you're doing evil to people, then that says more about you than it says it about me. If you think that a curse is evil, that means you probably shouldn't be doing it. And what I mean by that is if you're already sitting there going, oh wow, I feel like a bad guy for cursing them, that means that there's something that you know is toxic about you that's making this curse happen. You know that there's something wrong with you. Notice how Nicki said, and this is a great statement, I curse the shit out of him and then I heal him afterwards. Because her goal is not to destroy. She recognizes that there's a shadow of her own involved. She wants justice. She wants this cured, but she doesn't want to hurt people just to hurt them. She wants to not feel like a bad guy. So what does she do? She does the deed, and then if they learn their lesson, if it's done, then she takes it off them. And you'll find out a lot of witches are like that. A lot of witches, male, female, whatever, if you're a witch, there's a lot of witches out there that the curse lasts until you learn the lesson. That's a trope in a lot of magic fantasy, is that curses can be broken when the witch is satisfied that you've suffered enough, right? So what do you think, Nicki? Am I wrong?
I don't heal them. They can be destroyed. I just send love for my sake to know that I've forgiven them.
But that's healing. But that's very healing, right? That's very healing. But you're just honest right there. It's for my sake, right? So that means maybe somewhere along the line you recognize the toxicity that was your own part of that. Even if you're completely innocent, right? Even if, like, I know, like, if I get mad at my kid because he did something completely wrong, I often feel like I think I might have said some things I probably didn't mean to. I yelled the wrong way. I made it too personal. I'm too sadistic because I am. I punished him too hard. Like, oh, he just didn't do the dishes. Why is he grounded for a week? Just make it for the rest of the night. You know, like that kind. I take it back, right? So like, if you're feeling like that and you feel like curses are too harsh, that tells me more about you than about what I'm doing. Because if you think I'm being harsh, well, you're not me. You're not in my shoes. You don't know why, right? And I don't feel like I'm being harsh. In fact, to me, maybe I watched too many samurai anime films growing up, because to me, like, an insult is worthy of a slice across the throat half the time, right? You know, like, I grew up in the hood where it's like you don't talk shit about people, and things happen if you do. So I've had to mature away from that. It was hard to do, by the way. It like, you know, there was a time if someone called me fat, they'd get an elbow in the nose. It wasn't like I would just be like, yeah, haha, real funny. You know, it would be, ha ha, you fucking dick. And I'm not like that anymore. Like, I'm totally mellow. Like, I'm almost a pussy now, like really I am. Like, I'm borderline like pushover now, because it's like, I don't want to be that guy again. I don't want to be that guy. So, like my wife, she's done none. I've done only a few. And I believe that if I'm cursing, that means that there's probably some power they have over me. And so I'd rather deal with that. I'd rather undermine that power. But again, in Shadownomicon, that curse that we're talking about, probably the one you're talking about, that's very specifically because that is like they've got access to the keys to your kingdom. And you don't want somebody to have that. That's why you got to take care of that book. In fact, one of the reasons why that curse is like that is so you fucking hide it and you keep it sacred. You don't let people read it because you don't want to risk it. So it's a multi-leveled thing. It's not as simple as it sounds. So, all right, I'm ranting, guys. I think I'm getting wound up. Like I'm on my colickiness. We're almost on 4 hours. Nikki looks like she's gonna fall over. My wife's ready to reach in and through the screen hit me. Eddie's like, I could go all night.
Yeah. So to wrap up sub, I'll say fucking all of DH's shit and Camilla's shit by extension too. You can find the link in the description. I check the top pinned comment if you're watching this after the fact, and you will have links to both Necro Nicki and Eddie's channel in there, and also Nina the Mystic, our wonderful moderator. And yeah, I don't know, do you guys want to make any last minute plugs? Oh, actually, I'll make a last minute plug. Last Tuesday it got canceled because of my selfish reasoning, but this Tuesday me and Eddie are going to be streaming about This Tuesday, me and Eddie will be, I don't like being called out like that, yo.
I didn't know. I was guessing. I have a memory of a dead goldfish. I don't know if you told me or not. I hope I didn't blow your spot up.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Was it with Eddie?
About music. I don't like being called out like that.
Eddie, give us the facts.
Eddie, 1 blink for yes, 2 blinks for it was too big, 3 blinks for no. 4 blinks for yes, magic is in the butt, and you achieved Jehovah status.
If you
I'll start doing the Vietnam blink code.
Let me tell you what, magic wasn't in the butt, and then Eddie came along. Now I know where the magic is hidden.
There's an O.J. Simpson joke in there somewhere, motherfucker. Not O.J. Simpson. Yeah, no. Magic Johnson. There's a Magic Johnson. Why did I say O.J. Simpson? Stupid.
The glove fits. Fucking okay. Well, that isn't that a great plug? If you want to hear us bullshit about music, check out my channel.
Maybe one day I'll invade with my crappy music. I'll be like, here, you guys know what you're doing. Fix it, and I'll just watch while you guys fix my shit.
So, what about you guys? Any last minute plugs you want to make?
I was going to say, let's make sure we plug Necro Nicki again, because I know Nina's been doing it while we've been talking in the chat.
Yeah.
We want to get Necro up to 200. It's gonna. I mean, it never happens that quick off a stream, but if you guys are new here, make sure you sub to me, unless you hate me, because I am a bit of an asshole. But if you like Miss Nicki, who is awesome, and she was very polite to be here again, and we like having her on. We'll have her on again soon too, of course. But give her some love. I want to see her get 2,000. She does good stuff too, and unless you just hate ASMR, I guess. But if you like Nicki, she does more than that.
I was watching the numbers. You're not at 2K yet. I have a feeling you will be after the stream, but I know you gained at least 2 subs in this time.
Cool. Cool.
Thank you.
I'm on the verge of 4,000, so I only have I think 50 more to go. So if you're new here, all the little subbies help. If you're not new here and you know people who'd like this channel and you just haven't done it, please share this channel. Please share it with people who, be responsible. Fuck it, share it with Christians so I can fucking have more arguments with them. I really don't care.
Patchwork with Super Chat says, yeehaw.
Thank you, Patchwork.
Appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, and I guess that's it. I think we did enough of a Maimon segment tonight, so we'll just say thank yous at this point. So thanks everybody for being here. Eddie, thank you for representing the mod group of the channel. Hopefully you'll be there on movie night. I think it's just going to be me and you if you're showing up, because as far as official team goes. Why, you're going to join us after all, Fleshy?
Oh, yeah. No, the plan was to join you. Movie night, though, the winner is, with 50% of the votes exactly, The Last Unicorn.
That's a bold-faced lie.
I'm looking at the numbers. Don't you fucking go back into the political fucking shit of
I think it's fixed. Yeah. Just be careful here. I don't want to get freaking ban whacked because I said some words in some conjunction with each other.
You got a trencher full of votes ready to go.
All right. No, it says The Legend of Hell House is the winner. So the movie we'll be watching.
Oh no! Wait! It's Moonlight. Moonlight.
Yeah.
Actually,
good luck.
Won Best Picture.
So, Flesh, are you going to join us or not? You said you wouldn't be, but now you're changing, or you're not changing? Which way are you changing?
I think you were in the Berenstain Bears universe because I said I would be joining you.
Well,
I
let me
don't
go
ever
find it because
think I put
April. No, because no, hold on. Let me go find this. No.
No, this is my reality. I'm making it real. My
You
magic is
said,
stronger.
oh, it won't. No, you're right because you know why?
Yeah, I know because I just magicked you.
No, it's because you said, oh, it won't make it, but I thought it was, oh, I won't make it. Okay, I read like a buffoon.
I apologize.
Okay.
Damn dyslexic.
So thank goodness Flesh will be there because otherwise it's gonna be me and Eddie are not very entertaining together. We need to. No, I'm just kidding. No, Fleshy will be there. Eddie will be there. I hope. And we're gonna make it Legend of Hell House, which will mean I'll stop bitching about wanting to see it, and we can watch something else. So that's cool. And no, I didn't cheat. God, I can.
There too.
What?
I was gonna be there too.
Oh, you were. I wasn't sure if you were gonna make it or not. Okay.
Yeah, I told you I'd be there.
Oh, okay, cool. Nicki, hopefully you'll be there, but I don't know if you'll be free. But if not, please come. You'll enjoy it.
When is it? This Saturday? Tomorrow?
Day after. Well, yeah, technically tomorrow, but yeah, Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, like the last time, but it won't be the gore fest. This is going to be more of a creepy '70s haunted house movie. So very gothic too. Very gothic.
Okay, yeah, I'm down. I'm gonna
All right.
charge my phone battery so I can watch the entire
Oh,
movie this
yeah.
time.
I was
Fuck
wondering
yeah.
what happened. You just disappeared. I was like, I hope we didn't say something wrong.
Bye.
So,
Yeah,
all
so
right.
everybody fucking mind the shadows. Hail Camilla. Hail Eddie Romanov the Great. Hail Necro Nicki the Great. Hail DH. Hail Nina.
The somewhat mediumly big
Hail
dick. Yes.
Nina. Yeah, hail DH Thorne. I don't need to boost his ego anymore. The wonderful. Hail Nina the Mystic, the Mighty. Fucking hail yourselves.
Hail y'all,
And-
motherfuckers, because y'all's the same fucker mothers. That's all I'm going to say. Mind the shadows, because that might be what you are, and tell your friends and warn your enemies. DH
And in
Thorne and
honor of-
friends are here.
In
to
honor of
make
Camilla's
decisions.
shirt, raise the heat and hammer high.
Aw, I have one over here. I have to put it back on a necklace somewhere. I don't usually wear my Thor's hammers. I'm not really into Thor. But anyway, guys, yes, thank you so much. Make sure you sub. Make sure you subscribe to everybody here. We love you. Good night.
Hail, bye.
Take it easy, motherfuckers.
And I'm just